We're going to go ahead and begin and call it order the workshop. 4:35 will come to order. And we're going to be discussing the name of the new recreation facility. And I'm not sure where to begin this discussion, but do I need to see if there's anyone from the public or staff that wants to make comments?
Good afternoon. I think we need to incorporate Clarence Morgan's name somewhat into this name of this facility, and that's a personal opinion. But I don't think there's anybody in our county that's done more for recreation in this county than Mr. Clarence has. And he's dedicated pretty much his entire life to it. And I would like to see somehow his name being brought up in it if it wasn't anything but C.E. Morgan as such. I think somebody mentioned earlier maybe Effingham County Recreation Department, C.E. Morgan or Clarence Morgan Complex or something. But I would like to see him honored in that way if we could.
That's come to same opinion the sheriff has.
State your name, Scott.
Scott Lewis.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Clarence has been doing this job, or probably more than just a job to him, for over 40-something years. We're not going to replace that anytime soon. It's more than a job to him. Many of the people that's grown up and lived here, they think Effingham County Rec Department, they think Clarence Morgan. I feel it's very appropriate to have his name involved in this. Is something that's going to be very nice. He's worked hard to help get where we are with the rec department, as all y'all have. And in my opinion, I think we need to have his name on it somewhere. I feel the same way the sheriff does. I think it does need to reflect Effingham County, but also some type of memorial to Clarence Morgan and the work he's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Craig Johnson. I'm the chairman of the Effingham County Recreation Board. I want to read you something that the rec board has put together, and I have each one of y'all a copy. It is with great anticipation that we look forward to the completion of our new centralized complex for Effingham County. We certainly appreciate your role in helping make this dream become a reality. We also recognize and appreciate the tremendous amount of work and dedication that comes from our own director, Clarence E. Morgan. Mr. Morgan has invested over 40 years in the successful planning, development, and maintaining of Effingham County Recreation and Parks Department. Clarence Morgan has devoted his professional and much of his personal life to the success of the Effingham County Recreational Program. His work is noted and appreciated by the citizens of Effingham County, as well as statewide members affiliated with partner parks and recreation entities. Because of Director Morgan's tremendous contributions, the Effingham County Recreation Board wishes to recommend the new complex be named the Clarence E. Morgan Recreational Complex. There are few people in this county who have not benefited in some way from recreation and parks, if not personally, then family members. This recognition will show our gratitude to him for his unwavering dedication to the many citizens participating in our recreation program. Thank you for your consideration for this request made by the Effingham County Recreation Board. And Ms. Stephanie, I'll give it to you. I have a copy for each one of the commissioners.
Thank you very much, Craig. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Frank Legowar, and I'm from Guyton, Georgia. I'm here to support the recommendation of the Athletic Directors Board to support Clarence Morgan as being honorary name for our new athletic complex. Can't think of an individual more deserving and will bring more credibility to our county and the complex than Coach Morgan. Known Coach Morgan for quite a few years and worked with him both professionally and have worked with him through the recreation department. I can't think of any other individual that I would endorse more highly than Coach Morgan. He has credibility, he's proven himself, he has passion, dedication, and I think he's worthy for consideration to be named, his name to be placed on the complex. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. O'Brien.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Robert Hunter, and I'm also from Guyton. And I've been working with Clarence since the late 70s. And I've never run across a person that has more character, more will, heart than Clarence Morgan. I can go back to the days when Effingham County Recreation was Clarence Morgan. He laid out the fields, he cut the grass, he sold from the concession stands, he umpired. How do I know? Because I was right there with him. And I think we would do him greatly right to name the recreation facility Clarence Morgan, Effingham County, Clarence Morgan Recreation Facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any other discussions from anyone in the community? Now, I'm not suggesting one way or the other, but I just open discussion, because I know at times like this, many times it's, we don't know what to say, what we say next, and just get some conversation going. This is an important decision. It's going to be something that's going to last for many, many years on a multi-million-dollar complex. From the ones who have spoken this afternoon, I'll let the board speak as well. Are we looking definitely for the complex to be named after Mr. Morgan, or are we looking to honor those people who have served or excelled in certain areas with maybe some other type of honor in that area, like with a field name or facility name versus the whole complex? One of my thoughts is, do we need to continue to think about a regional name for regional celebration and participation? Not saying that what you recommend is not good, but just trying to make sure we have good, honest discussion and conversation that there are possibilities of what might or might not be the most effective way to market this multi-million-dollar complex, at the same time honor someone like Mr. Morgan who has served so well. So,
Chairman, I'll say one thing, and I'm sorry I was late, and I missed a few of the comments, so I'm not sure of everything that might have been said. But based on this workshop coming up, there's been a little discussion around from various citizens and different people about that exact scenario. And one of the things that was mentioned was in trying to do it regionally. Is there a way to have the name Effingham County listed in that? Some people felt that was important. So I will say that one of the things that a few people have been kicking around and talking about, so I'm going to suggest it or mention it and then see what the feedback is on that, is something along the lines of Effingham County Sports and Rec Clarence Morgan Complex, something like that.
I think everybody's agreeing that Clarence needs to be recognized.
That way we get, for people that are Googling Effingham County, and the Effingham County's in there, but also as far as on the field, he's getting that level of recognition rather than just a gym or just a field. It was somewhat of a way to combine both. So I don't know if the people here would like to give us some feedback about that, but that could be a possibility. It's just one possibility I'm putting out there as a way to encompass both.
no, it's just a possibility. So I can get it there.
It was something like
Effingham County Sports and Rec.
Effingham County Sports and Rec, Clarence Morgan Complex. Or it could be his initials. I'm not sure what is that initial Morgan Complex, whatever everybody decides is good.
Effingham County
Is
is
on
in
there.
there, or starts at Effingham County Recreation Complex, Morgan Farm, Morgan.
Yeah, a few people felt that was important, so that was a way.
Clarence C. Morgan, something like that. I think there's a way we can combine it.
You could always put Effingham County down there. I mean, I agree with what the rec board wants to name it, and you got plenty of room. We don't have a big sign there, and then put Effingham County under it. And then you talk about recognizing people, different people that play ball, they excel. You can name a baseball field, or a soccer field, or a road, or something from all these other people. There's a lot of other things that can do in there that could be named for other people that
I
excel.
do think we need to name roads and fields and things like that.
Well, I think we ought to have Clarence Egan not Clarence Egan, Clarence Morgan on the sign, and then have maybe Effingham County under.
I think it needs to be Effingham County, dedicated to Clarence, something like that. I think the headline needs to be Effingham County for the entire community.
But I'm in favor of getting his name.
His name needs to be incorporated somehow.
The primary.
So it's the start of the name, Effingham County.
Right, yeah, start with the county's.
And then have Clarence Egan Morgan Recreation Complex.
I think we meet both objectives by doing that, because we
I
want,
don't have no problem
I can
with
say for
that.
myself, I want to be sure he's honored in that way.
And Ms. Beer, I agree with what you're saying as far as Effingham County possibly being first, because everybody does Google everything. Nobody looks at a map or anything. So, you know, it's, I think the rec board or most anybody else speaking on this behalf would have no issue how we word it. Effingham County might need to go first because that's what you're looking for. If you Google something else, you might end up in Macon. There might be in there.
Exactly.
So yeah, if I guess our take is, if his name is on the marquee sign, whatever order, you know, that's our goal is to honor him instead of waiting a long time and be in memory of. You know, from that standpoint, is the other roads. As far as, you mentioned something about honoring other people. If you've been in the gym out there, they have a what's the pictures for? Hall of Fame. Have a Hall of Fame honoring athletes throughout the county, whether it was playing, coaching. Some have gone on to play professional ball, and then they've been honored as well. So we're kind of doing that now. It would be great, later on if we get this other phase to add some of these offices in the gym that, that could be moved there and dedicated. Some of the pavilions could be dedicated to some other people in memory of or in honor of, things like that. But I agree with you on the how you want to organize the wording. Probably Effingham, might need to be first because that's what they're looking for.
And I'll go out a little bit on a limb and say this. I know this is probably very humbling or hard for Clarence to sit there and hear as far as all of this, because I know his personality isn't one to search out for this type of thing. But that's probably part of why he's deserving of it. And I would say for my own self, there's very, very few people, because one of the points that was brought up was, and it can be a genuine consideration to some, that if you don't give this honor to someone that's living. But I will say for myself, there are very, very few people that I would be willing to do that, present that honor to while they were still alive. But in this particular case, I do think in the scenario that when I hear the stories of he was wrecked before wreck was Effingham County wreck, I think he's earned that. So that's just speaking for myself. So that's what I think.
Well, a lot of the stories, and you were there at the 40-year celebration with all the speakers coming back from, digging in their own pockets to buy enough balls to do everything. I mean, he was right there in the middle of it. And that's what I mean when all over the state, he just doesn't know people. They know him. They'll contact him in different scenarios, asking his opinion. He's very, very knowledgeable of ball fields. He's had some input in developing this complex of what works and what doesn't work, talking to some of the other entities across the state and even some of the local ones in our area, BOC County being one. He's a big asset. He's old. He's not going to be here much longer. So we need to suck all that knowledge we can out of him now, and again, in honoring him this way.
I'll say also, and I'll stop talking and let somebody else talk, but while I was not born and raised in Effingham County, my son's 29 years old, about to be 30, and we started rec ball here when he was 5. And so we have that much experience with him directly as how he conducted things. So.
And he does a whole lot more than just sports. Just had an Easter egg hunt. He has a candy cane hunt. He has a Hearts for Life for mother, daughter, father, sons to come out. We have a navigator program for special needs kids. They get whatever they want. They don't come with gloves and bats. We make sure they have what they need. all ages, they play sports. They were practicing basketball the other week, and he interrupted a basketball party with a pizza party and an Easter egg hunt. They didn't know what's coming. So all he does is give, and like I say, it's more than just sports, and the community knows it and appreciates what he does. Thank you.
Clarence, how long have you been with the rec department?
I've been involved with recreation sports for 52 years, and I've been involved all 41 years with the recreation department. Two words that Jared said, super important. Regional recreation complex need to be, Effingham County Regional Recreation Complex need to be first and foremost in the name. And I'm honored to be under, but it needs to be Effingham County Regional Recreation Complex just because of Googling and coming up Effingham County. And it needs to be a regional park and not just at Effingham County Park.
Yeah, because we hope this will be something that'll draw from all across the south.
And it will.
Yeah, and I remember, I was asked on the video, I think it was 1980 when I took over the audit of Effingham County, and you and Joaquin went on the trail back there. And you had to leave to go coach, I think, at the middle school or high school or something. And so I know that pretty far with you, about 37, 40 years, we know that 41 years.
Mr. Chairman and Board, I'd like to have another shot at this. I'd like to go on record to say that I really think this complex ought to be named after Coach Morgan, given the person he is and the contribution he has made. But I also like to go on the record to say that I'm willing to compromise as long as his name is in bold, and my compromise is based on the discussion I've heard, and more importantly, the words coming from Mr. Morgan himself. He doesn't have a selfish attitude toward this, and I know this is something that he's not asking for. So I just wanted to go on the record to say what my strong feelings and belief is, but at the same time, I'm willing to support and agree to a compromise and name the complex. Thank you.
I'm just making some notes if you're on the board, anyone else wants to make a comment?
I agree with everything that's been said. I won't repeat it, but I do agree. I think we need to have Effingham County at the front of the name. And I agree with Coach Morgan. We need to try to make it regional name, because everything is on the computer. Everybody Google's one of my best friends. But I don't think there's anyone more deserving. I consider myself younger, but thinking back in the history with Effingham, I can't think of anyone with any area that can say, I've been a part of something for over 40 years. And that's, I forgot, forever somebody said it, that's hard to find.
And that's the reason I think his name ought to be somewhere on that board up front. I don't care how it reads, it could be regional, it could be Effingham County, but I think Clarence Morgan, and I'm not gonna mess it up this time, Clarence. Anyway, Clarence Morgan's name ought to be on that sign out front in his honor.
I will say, Mr. Corbett, lots of places I've seen when this does happen, they put Effingham County Regional Recreation Park, Clarence Seaport Complex. That's how a lot of places have done it.
That sounds good to me.
I like it. And the only reason I know that, I've seen it done by day in Twinsburg, just name a couple of them.
So Effingham County Regional Recreational Park, Clancy Morgan Complex.
I'll go along with that.
Y'all,
I'm not getting bogged down with names, I'm good with that. I'm putting all my energies in the facility. You know, at the end of the day, I want the facility to be top notch.
It sounds like we accomplished a couple of things. We give the community a celebration, those who do know you and love you, and those who don't know Clarence Morgan yet, because we've grown so much that allows both people to come together and celebrate a regional park with appreciation for your service too. Some of accomplish both.
Y'all know me good, I never want nothing for Clarence Morgan. I want stuff for the kids of Effingham County. That's always been my goal.
Now, that contribution you and I discussed for $500,000 toward this campaign.
How important is it to have Effingham in the name? Other than pride in our county, I get that. I don't disagree, I just, I'm also thinking, we have municipalities in the city, if we went more generic with that part of it, it's just an idea, so we don't isolate, but I'm good with whatever.
What are you thinking?
I don't know, nothing particular.
Like Mill Creek, as they use.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Bullet Point, they use.
instead of using Bullitt County, they use the generic name.
It's a
That's just an idea.
countywide park.
Well, I think what he's thinking,
I know, no,
not back to take away the regional, but I think what he's trying to think is like, is there a name in Effingham that can be recognized as a regional name as well?
People in Effingham might, but not people in Macon and people that would want to travel here for, that's one of the reasons I think that the word Effingham is important to it, but that's just.
Sorry, just Google Effingham rep, but that's gonna pop up. If there's somebody, because you're trying to bring people in there,
Google Bullitt County. But Effingham,
It could be.
feel free. I mean, I'm just saying,
But that's far, I've heard no other, even possibility, like I haven't had.
Jack.
Other than pride in our county.
Recreation Complex. Jack Branch, I'm sorry.
I do.
About Effingham Regional.
I think it's gonna be, we're trying to make it one of the best things that we've done. And so I do think it's good for pride in the county, like, for me.
I'm good either way, I just threw it out there.
Yeah, it's just my opinion.
We do have some landmarks like they've been used that's known around. That may not be the best thing, but.
it's like Effingham County first.
Yeah, we got 4 more minutes. I just want to make sure we discuss everything so we
I mean, if somebody has other things they want to throw out there, so
Yeah,
they will throw them out there, but then we have something to talk about.
does anybody have any thoughts besides Effingham that might go in the name to make a regional type name complex?
Phil, you were just thinking because we have other facilities that just naming that one Effingham would,
Yeah, just to be a little more inclusive countywide.
To the other ones?
All, maybe feel some involvement in it. Just
yeah, I mean, we call Pine Laurel facilities, we call Sand Hill, but because of, I guess, the locations is where they were. Rinkin is Rinkin. I guess this not being in a city or a neighborhood.
Well, it is, but, it would be, we should not name it Springfield, right?
I would hope
It's in the city limits.
I guess not, but I hope.
And I'm good with Effingham, don't get me wrong.
I hope they feel included in Effingham, because, Effingham County taxes all citizens, I mean, they are Effingham.
Exactly.
And so, they are
And
Effingham.
this is
Yeah.
a county project, paid for by all citizens who buy something,
Yeah, sure.
or non-citizens who buy something, with the SPOS money. And on that, you'd be amazed at how many people I educated on what SPOS is. It's amazing that they don't know what it is. They see a tax and think, that's a bad thing. I don't know, Phil, you threw a shoe in it now.
Do what?
You threw a shoe in it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't, like the Google thing, I don't know that that's so important. Like I said, you could Google.
On our website. Okay. That's what I thought. On our website, Effingham County Recreation Parks, then it breaks them down to each facility and gives the address of each facility. So if it was in there, Effingham County Regional Parks, Clarence C. Morgan Complex, that would be on there with an address beside it, just as the Highway 119 does, the Sand Hill does. They all have their own addresses. So it is broken up in there where they wouldn't be lost and just see Effingham County fields and not know where they are. So they are addressed individually on the county website.
That was just an idea, like I said.
And I think Effingham County citizen is paying the bill for the complex.
I'm sorry.
And Effingham County citizen is the reason we doing this. I agree with Phil. If we had a marquee like Mill Creek is that area where Mill Creek is, Southern Pine, when they built the one in Dublin, that's the area that was referred to as Southern Pine. said. So if we had an area there, like Ebenezer, because Ebenezer, we could do incorporate that. So do we have something there that we can incorporate other than Effingham County?
Okay. Any other thoughts or ideas for the board to take and entertain? I thank everyone so much for coming and your participation and your input. We really appreciate it. We're going to take about a 3-minute recess and we're going to come back to work for the board meeting. So, we're going to call the meeting to order in the Effingham County Board of Commissioners, April the 18th, and it is 5:09 p.m. If you would all stay with me and join me in invocation, and Mr. Keith will lead us in our pledge of allegiance. Father, we are so thankful for the Father, we are thankful for the opportunity to come and do the business of the county today. Thank you for this opportunity you've given each of us to serve. And we thank you for even the thunder that reminds us that you are the power behind everything. And as we seek your face and seek your glory and seek your will, then we will do a better job. So bless us now as we discuss and as we plan and as we strategize and as we vote, we pray. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You recognize how the Afghans felt just before the dawn hit? We will consider elation of a resolution to approve tonight's agenda. Have a motion?
Motion to approve is presented.
Could I go to put the regular, and I'll go ahead and pull back the federal agenda for tonight?
I would think we would take that into advisement and put on the next agenda.
All right, I thought you wanted, I tossed it something.
Todd, is that something we need to add to the agenda? Would it fit in the emergency category?
We just wanted to know so we can make a sign. That's, you know, it's fine to wait 2 weeks. I mean, we just wanted to make a sign announcing the park's opening and wanted that on the sign.
Yeah, I think we got a good direction. I think we know what we're doing. It's just a matter of, we see. Okay.
That's fine.
So we'll have that on the next agenda. So I have a motion to approve the agenda as it is, and there a second. Second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Agenda's approved. Consideration to approve the minutes of the April 4th, 2017 workshop and the April 4th, 2017 regular commission meeting. I have read those minutes and we've got an accurate reading of the meetings. Do I have a motion or any additions first?
But we need to split that. I didn't make it to the workshop. Or is it just put it on?
I think it's okay. You came in, you were
Yeah, I
just
came in.
late. Yeah.
There were no decisions made yet, so.
Do them together.
Yes, sir, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 4th?
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
First by Mr. Wilkers, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And the minutes of the workshop and the regular meeting are approved. Before we go into regular session or the actual items on the agenda, just remind the public that we welcome comments, or we'd like to keep comments to the agenda. And we can keep them brief so that more people have an opportunity to speak to each agenda. I appreciate it. Also, the agenda and all the supporting documents are always posted on our website and in the clerk's office. And so hopefully you've had the opportunity to review and prepare for this meeting as we have tonight. With that said, we'll go into the old business. The first item of old business is consideration to approve work orders 22 and number 23 with Moreland and Alphabet. What's enough for government work? Associates Incorporated for consulting services on Effingham Parkway.
Mr. Chairman, as you stated, this item was tabled at the last meeting to allow a little bit more time to speak with Moreland and get a better understanding of some things and to try to look at some of the tasks associated with it, get a better understanding. We have done so, had some conversations. We have been presented with revised task force. And you also, now you have 22, 23, 24, and 25 work order. And the 22 and 23 are as was originally presented. 24 and 25 have some of the scope of services removed with the county attorney providing those services. And those will be title and closings. So you have two different choices. We can put it all 22, 23 has Moreland doing all of those. 24, 25 has them doing negotiations and acquisition with our county attorney doing title and closings. There will be some coordination between the two to do so. Alternative 1, which is Moreland, is 281.8, and alternative 2 is 276.6. With that being broken out at 244.1 for Moreland and 225 for the attorney to do the titles and closings. As before, they're coming out of SPLOST, I guess, reimbursed for federal earmark, or they were impact fee money that we had. So impact fee money for SPLOST, whichever we haven't collected those recently, but being reimbursed by earmark. So as such, my recommendation in here was to do 24 and 25, which has the county attorney doing the titles and the closings, saves a little bit of money, he's a little bit closer. And with that, Moreland is represented here tonight, can answer any of those questions, give you any more feedback that you need to hear.
We had an opportunity on a couple of occasions to talk with the consultants and look at the fees, and I appreciate them going back and looking and working with us on some of those numbers. That's excellent. One question, if we break out the title work and have our attorney do that, you see it increasing in your time in the management area, or would that be?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Wayne Roberts, the right-of-way manager for Moreland Altabelli, and no, sir, we don't anticipate that increasing the time whatsoever.
Do y'all have any problem with us doing this and using all the time?
No, not at all.
Mr. Edwards, we'll say a little bit additional resources about having our attorney do those titles and closings. We'll say some additional resources out. Is there a number that you calculate we will save?
Oh, yes, the difference in that 281.1 and 276 was what, $5,000 roughly. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it is a little savings, and it's, again, he's just closer. It's easy for me to find. Not that Moreland's difficult to find, I just tough to leave.
Any discussion or question from you on the board? Staff is recommending 24, 25, in which alternative 2, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to do a staff recommendation alternative 2.
Second.
First by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Lover. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And is approved to do alternative 2 for quarters 24 and 25.
Mr. Brunson, you and Mr. Wayne, y'all may be excused. Ladies first.
Well, you can say enjoy it.
They can say you.
Man, I want to leave and take a thunder line.
Appreciate the opportunity and hope to see most of you next Friday night.
Thank you, gentlemen, for attending tonight. Item number 2, old business consideration to approve to award a contract for testing services on the 2017 Community Services projects.
Mr. Chairman, this item 2 was tabled at the last meeting. And since I went back and had some correspondence with GDOT as to whether or not pre-qualified contractors, consultants were required for the element testing, And basically the response was that the contractors do not have to be pre-qualified, nor do we have to follow GDOT testing procedures, although we recommend you do so. So that being said, we put this out to bid, directly sent it to all the known vendors, people we've done business with, and advertise it in all the normal places that we do. We received 2 bids, Whitaker Laboratory and EMC Engineering. Whitaker was the low bidder on that, and to make sure that we compare things equally amongst all the bidders, rather than, because it is a little bit subjective as to what tests will be required, and one fails, you have to come back. We basically set a scope and said provide a budget on these tests, so that everybody was bidding on the same thing, and then made them include prices for each test, so we could compare the prices, know what they were, and we would pay by the actual number of tests done. So with that being said, Whitaker was the low bidder. They happen to be GDOT pre-qualified in this area class. They're the ones that we've used previously for all our other LMIG testing. With that said, staff recommends that go with alternative 1 of hiring Whitaker Laboratory.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions from the commission? Just note that by going back to bid, we have a little savings in this area as well, so I appreciate that. Thanks for doing that.
Make a motion to approve order number 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Roper, second by Mr. Deloach to approve offer number 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Alternative 1 carries. We're going to move into new business. Item number 1, consideration to approve a proclamation to proclaim May 6, 2017 as U.S. Army Specialist Winston Hensley Day, that's it, in Effingham County. And I know it was a great celebration of the flags that day. I won't take the time to read the proclamation today. Hear someone?
One thing I did want to ask is, this is another big hint that says somebody may be able to attend tonight that they sent to receive the proclamation and possibly not, so I'm not clear. Is anybody here on behalf of Hensley's? Okay.
I think we ought to do a proclamation that day with the family, so I won't take time to read it today, this meeting, that you've all received it. If you read that, if you would approve that proclamation, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation as presented.
First by Ms. Jones, second by Mr. Floyd, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The proclamation is approved. We will set down the agenda and invite the family to the proclamation. Item number 2 of new business, consideration to approve an amendment to the Effingham County fee schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to table that for the next meeting. There's a lot of different stuff in there. Really, I hadn't had time. I had a busy weekend. I hadn't had time to go over it all, but I like to table it.
Okay, I have a motion to table, so we'll discuss. I'll see if I can get a second.
I'll second.
Okay. A motion, Mr. Wood, to the table. Second, Mr. DeLoach. All in favor of tabling this agenda item tonight?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll table that item.
Next meeting will be fine.
Thank you. I have a few questions I want to bring up here, so that's fine. Item number 3, consideration to approve task order number 2017-04 and task order number 2017-5 for Ecological Planning Group.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, Purchasing Agent. In order to maintain compliance with the state NPDES permit, the county is required to create and submit a stormwater management plan to Georgia EPD. The county does not have the equipment necessary to perform all the tests required, therefore approval of the 2 task orders with EPG, who are an EPD approved laboratory, is being requested. Task order 2017-04 is for NPDES, dry weather screening and source tracing, for the fee of $1,500, and task order 2017-05 is for MS4 inspections and reporting for the fee of $2,420. Funding for both task orders is approved in the current budget, and both task orders have been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. EPG have performed both the NPDES screening and the MS4 inspections for the past several years, and so have historical knowledge. Therefore, staff recommends alternative 1. Any questions?
Questions or discussions from the commission? Any motion for alternative one?
Second.
First by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Whitler, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration to accept a bid and issue a contract and notice to proceed with Altima Hall Building Systems Incorporated for the construction of the Stillwell Colorado Road Fire Station.
Mr. Chairman, as you're all aware, we've been working on this station, for quite a while. We issued an invitation to bid in all our normal places that we do so. We received 9 different bids from 9 different companies for that work. The low bidder is Altima Hall Building Systems with a bid price of $246,000. They did respond in accordance with the ITB and provided all the required documents. And I would say that Altima Hall Building Systems is the contractor that built Tusculum as well, so they have worked for us before. We didn't have any issues with them on that particular project. This work will be funded from SPLOST, and it is included in the short-term work program, was included in the fire update and master plan done some time ago. It's just one we've been working on delivering. So with that, staff would recommend that you all approve alternative number 1 to approve the bid and contract with Altima Hall Building Systems and issue a notice to proceed for that work.
Is this a main station?
No, sir. No, sir, it is not.
Okay, so you won't have living quarters in this one?
No, sir, it's a 2-bay station, has a restroom in it, it's about it. It's pretty much exactly the same station we looked at.
This is before I put the boys want to get up to speed on what the station look like.
Correct, it's a 2-bay station with a restroom in the corner, it is not a main station.
Obviously, from the dust, they really didn't want to work there.
Yes, sir.
$1 million.
Yeah.
They didn't want to work. They didn't too busy. Anyway, any questions, discussion from the board?
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Yeah, first by Mr. Blanford, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. The carries, you can proceed. Item number 5, consideration to approve the village calendar for fiscal year ending June 30, 2018.
Good evening. Each year, we go ahead and set calendars on our major procedures regarding both our budget and our millage adoption. This particular calendar mirrors last year. The only change would be if we want to set this millage any earlier. However, we usually do not get the Board of Education millage until around June 19th. And with the meeting schedules that we have, July 4th would be that next meeting. So we set it for July 18th.
I don't see a problem with it, because we really need to end up waiting on the school boards anyway.
Correct.
Just a question, alternative one, it says approve county development and for just unincorporated residents. That should be both incorporated and unincorporated?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Just making that alternative one should be incorporated and unincorporated residents. If you make a motion for alternative one, which would be July 18th day, is that correct?
Correct.
Which is what you're recommending?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion, questions on that?
Mr. Chairman, as we move forward with the village, we discussed doing service districts, and if we want to do so, there's still time. The preliminary assessments will go out first of next month, and we have verified through state law and through the tax assessor and commissioner that the preliminary notices will go out as they always do with the millage that's currently set. So if it comes back anything different, that's fine, because you all have not set the millage yet. The question being when the preliminary notices go out, we have the opportunity to put an insert in there. That's probably our best chance of getting some information in front of every taxpayer in the county. It's a very nominal cost, it's 5 cents a sheet, it's about $1,400, that's double-sided what we could do to put it in. The problem is if y'all want to do it, we got 2 days. And we worked up a small draft of something that could say, but we have a limited time frame. So if you all want to consider putting that in there, we need to get you some information as to what it would be and see if that's okay. If not, we can do it later. It's just, this is probably the only opportunity to have something directly mailed to every single taxpayer prior to that happening. What it couldn't say is what the millage will be, because we don't know that, you haven't said it yet. But it could say that we're looking at funding things differently with an incorporated and unincorporated. It sort of walks through that process as to why there are a couple different scenarios.
You're saying we would need to make that decision now to get it into?
I'm saying we have 2 days, and that's the short sentence if you all can read that of what it says.
2 days to give notice that we're considering it? Is that what you're saying?
2 days to actually put this in, to get this to the vendor that will send out the notices. Our notices are sent out by the vendor. We don't physically mail those ourselves. So we have to get them the information so they can put them in the envelope. And unfortunately, it got here quickly. So if you don't want to do it, you're not comfortable with the time frame, that's fine.
Is there any other county influence doing this yet?
Doing what?
Changing it?
They're changing it. I don't know how many changing it this year. There's several that
Are
I
you
do it
using
this way.
that way?
Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I have a question if it would create more conversation and confusion if they don't know what the millage is, they would, is this, I'm not going up, it's not going up, really. I'm wondering if you'd be better to actually give them a number with the explanation when we have it.
I understand, and there's a chart that goes along with this that does just that, but it has the numbers in it, and I don't know what those are.
It'll create question and confusion that we don't have answers to.
Yeah, I think I would like to see us wait till we set those millage rates for the incorporated and the county lines. And then put the explanation out there and handle all the discussion at one time. Particularly when they can see that there, for the most part, there's no increase.
I think this came up during the discussions of the last couple of weeks, and the question of how do we do a slick sheet, okay, and do that explanation. And it was the tax assessor's opinion that this particular time was the best time to be able to do that, though we're not quite ready and there yet. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that y'all are informed that that option is there should you wish to take it.
Yeah, and I certainly think you give us the option that it's available. But I think it's the wishes of the commission to wait and let's share the information we have, the numbers, and having any discussion today.
When do they mail out?
They'll actually get mailed out like the first of next month, but they have to get the information to the vendor so they can start printing everything. So that in the next couple of weeks, they'll
And
actually.
it'll be taking a chance that we have answers by then.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's the initial assessment notice that's going out, which always has the prior millage on it, not the actual millage that's set by the board.
When you're saying we can take the prime millage if we wanted to and break it out what it would look like.
Correct.
If we look, if we had that last year, based on what's going to be in the future, we could do that.
But it goes back to, is it going to create more discussion and unknowns for people than simply waiting? It may cost us a little bit more to do a slick sheet later on.
I'm just trying to call you off.
Yeah, I think the questions are going to be easily answered, but you don't have to answer them one time if you will, and answer them twice if you will.
Appreciate that, Ms. Jones.
Or 60,000 times, right?
I'll forward my calls to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it'll look something like that. I don't know if y'all can even read it where it has each one of the school, the IDA, and the total, so that you can see that it's the same over here. But what we don't know is what these numbers are yet. So I mean, I agree. You need to know the numbers and show it's a zero-sum game. But we can't do it because we don't know what this distribution will be. In other words, 8.337, what it is, that some of these will be 8.337. But I don't know that 617, I don't know what those are until you want to say it. So.
And I'd like to take some time, we want to be looking at that and getting our heads together on it, and I'd like to make sure we are I'm 2 days not good enough, I gotta be in county next couple of days.
No problem.
But I know, finance director's been working hard on that, so I appreciate it. So we, don't have a motion, yet. A motion for alternative one to, set the calendar for July 18th.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1 with the change that the chairman recommended.
First comes Jones' motion, and second Mr. Floyd, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And alternative one is accepted with that, and incorporated to it.
Did you get that stuff?
Okay.
So you said you did it.
I got it. He said it. Okay.
Item number 6 on new business, consideration to approve to issue a request for a proposal RFP for agent of record.
Good evening. What I've got before you is, as you know, our contract with Capstone Benefits, who's the provider of our Employee Navigator, our online enrollment system, as well as our agent that's dealing with our insurance carriers for us. Their contract runs from 1 January through 31 December of 2017. On March 7th, I gave y'all copies of definitions for agent of record, broker of record, insurance agent, and consultant. So you could tell the difference between what each would provide for us, depending on which way you decided to go. Last year, during the conversations before we voted on, or before we went with Capstone, Commissioner Jones was interested in getting out an RFP for our business for next year. That was why the definitions were sent out. What we've had so far this year is it's taken us a while, but we're finally see a light at the end of the tunnel as far as our benefits are concerned, our enrollments and things like that. Working with Capstone has been a learning experience for us all, but what I would like to recommend is that we go with Capstone for an additional year as our agent of record and submit an RFP next year for an agent of record or whatever one y'all decide you want to go with. Capstone has agreed to the same fees for next year that they're charging us this year, which is $8,000 a month, and they also get 10% commission on our ancillary benefits. And that's my recommendation. I just one thing that I'd like to say though is I'm recommending that we stay with Capstone for a year with the addition of, from y'all, if you want to go out with an RFP next year, and if you do we want to go for an agent of record, broker of record, and or what your decisions are?
That's what we decided to do last year. We said, well, y'all wanted to go with them last year, and I was against it. I said, well, if we're not going to do it this year, and I wanted to do that last year, but y'all didn't want to do that, y'all went ahead and got Capstone. So I don't think we need to keep Capstone again. We need to put out a number 2. Publish RFP for agent.
I agree with that as well. And I understand what you're saying. That has been a process going through that. It would be easier to keep them one more year. From what I can tell, I think we're satisfied with their service, but we had a lot of discussion, and we did say that we were going to send the RFP out the following year.
Okay.
Me personally, I kept going back and forth between agent of record and consultant. I think agent of record would be okay. I really like the fee structure. I think it's more transparent. I think it's cleaner.
Yes.
Both sides.
And everybody knows what you're
That's just my opinion.
And I think the agent of record too, but we with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, all the agents, Capstone took over just in 2 weeks' time from having an insurance company, because they'd already figured out what we're going to do with Blue Shield. So it shouldn't be any problem this year, whatever the agent gets it. They talk to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, whichever one come up, we can get one for $7,000, we save $1,000. So I think you need to send one out.
We did
And
say.
let everybody bid on it.
We did say at that time that we absolutely wanted to bid, that we've been wanting to bid it out, and that we felt there's been some problems with making that happen. So I think probably everybody is in the position, taking the position, they still do want to bid it out.
Okay.
And for clarity purposes though, about agent of record or not or whatever, I don't want to pay an extra fee to a separate agent of record. So I want staff to RFP it. Is that what you're?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well,
We have a time limit on their response time, so we're
Yes,
not
sir.
waiting on 90 days to
Generally, you send out the RFP, and then, Fiona, correct me if I'm wrong. You get your RFP together, you send it out to, you do a pre-bid.
We advertise it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll do a pre-bid meeting. So the whole process it can take about a month. And the time that we did it a few years back, it was a lot of work because it had not really been done in forever, but at least we do have a model to go by, what we can pick up and just make some changes to or whatever, so. I have some from other purchasing agencies. So it shouldn't be that much. And I agree as well about the flat fee and wanting it to be transparent. I think we're all in agreement on that too, so that can give us some direction about what to ask for in this fund.
So do we want to go with an RFP then for an agent of record? Is that the terminology we want to use?
What was that again?
Do we want to use agent of record for the RFP? Is that the terminology we want to use?
In using the terminology of going for agent of record,
Yes, ma'am.
say exactly what you
Okay.
mean by that.
An agent of record or broker of record, what that is going to give a particular company or entity authority to go to all the insurance carriers and request quotes based on our experience modules and things like that for all the insurance products that we offer. So that person will actually be speaking on our behalf.
Well, what concerned me about that, that's where we ran into the problem at the last minute, last time, correct? In that then we were not able to get information.
But if I could, the situation that we had last year was not an agent of record situation.
Okay.
Because
If I'm being told that won't happen again, that situation will keep that from being, I'm going to give you transparency.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
We call an insurance company that they're going to speak to us and they don't feel like they cannot speak to us directly so that we can get information and know what's what. Then that's fine.
What we do is by appointing that agent of record, then they speak on our behalf. But what they're required to do is bring us all of any bids, from any insurance company that wants to bid on our business. There's no monies between the agent of record and the insurance companies. It's a completely separate business arrangement, if you will.
And the fee will be showed separately?
The fee will be agreed to in the RFP, which what Commissioner Deloach was saying is we'll go for a flat fee. We're not going to have it based on commissions for the insurances. Yes, ma'am.
Just like we have now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But the ancillary benefits, they can charge a commission.
They can, but we can write it up where they don't, that it's going to be a flat fee. In a previous RFP that I did at my previous job, to give you specifics, we paid $40,000 a year for our agent of record. And they're required to, and we set up the requirements. They went out, got insurance quotes for us from all carriers that were interested in our business. They also were, you can tell them what kind of reports you want, how often you want reports. Like right now, Capstone provides quarterly reports as far as our losses and insurance claims and things like that. So you name everything that you want in the RFP with the fee, and then they'll come back with numbers. Usually they'll say, okay, for this amount, $40,000, I'll give you quarterly reports. We'll do the bids or the quotes for the insurance and things like that. So it depends on what you're asking for, and then they'll come back with actual dollar amount that they'll charge.
Does the agent of record get a commission from the insurance company?
No, sir, he does not. It's completely separate.
You pay him a flat fee.
I know we pay the flat fee. I was
But
wondering if we get
Yeah,
commission.
it depends on how we write the RFP.
That's correct.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to verify as well is like the way that we are with Capstone right now, they're considered agent of record?
That's correct.
Okay. And so they're getting a flat fee basically for the whole service to be the insurance broker and the agent of record. There's not an additional fee, and that's what I want to verify, is that we don't have two different fees.
The agent of record and broker of record are basically interchangeable as far as the verbiage.
Okay, because we had talked about in the past, it could be two different people, and that would create two different fees, and I want to be sure we didn't get that.
Right, no.
Yeah, one fee, and there's not additional commission making from anywhere else.
No, sir.
Compare that to a consultant.
Sir?
Compare that to the consultant.
To the consultant, the consultant is basically it's working on your behalf, but there's no agreement between us and the consultant. They'll go out and get the quotes and things and all, but they're really just as a middleman, if you would.
They're not gonna manage the
They're not gonna,
policy.
exactly, and they're not gonna be really interested in the bottom line. You know, they're gonna go out and get us information, and then where our agent of record is our protector, if you will, to make sure we get the best
Once
prices.
we bid this, do you want to bid it every year, or do you want to give an opportunity for somebody to do it for 2 or 3 years? Because that kind of holds your costs, and I know there's a lot of setup time to on the client. As all the professionals here, you know, that's a lot of cost up front. And we're asking them to review this cost another time, so should this RFP probably be for a 2 or 3 year contract? Maybe bid more competitive bids on that too, if you do that.
Well, there's not too many.
Capstone's gonna have to be up their hand.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
But you might get a more competitive bid if I'm not got a contract for 2 or 3 years, I might cut in a few percent because
Well, if we get a good one next year, I mean, I'm not saying one we got, but if we're satisfied with it, then we give everybody a chance and we might keep them another year.
We have a saying shaking their head in the back of the room, but we could put in our opinion, just like we did, an option of, you know,
1, 2, and 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
It's, the industry standard is generally a 3-year contract.
So we could put in the RFP an option of 1, 2, and 3, and then that way we would see what kind of better deal they would give us for a longer term. It would incentivize that.
I don't know that you would actually get that good of a deal if you did that.
But we could try.
We could, absolutely, we can try anything.
Let's find out.
We can try anything.
I think it gives an opportunity for more competition, and also too, once you're dealing with someone and they agree with a price, it's nice if we can focus on other human resource issues besides insurance every year.
As an example, I get that some companies may say, same thing, we're not doing any different, but then one company might be like, well, we'll do this for 3 years, and it might make all the difference, so.
And another piece that hasn't come up in this is the consistency for our employees. There is a lot of setup time in this, and we generally do try to do 2 years so that it's conducive for that person. We do it on almost all of our RFPs, whether it's audit, whether it's, you know, food for the prison. We generally try to at least get 2 years of consistency and then perhaps offer a third.
And I will say this, I do understand that, I recognize it for staff time, for employees, all the way around, with the only caveat in this particular case being said this. We went many years with 180, and I know Commissioner Lover especially was concerned about how things went at the last time around. So I do think if for no other reason than that, at this particular time, that we do this way now, so that we're kind of confirming, yes, we put the pricing out there, the RFP out there, that we always have 1 and 2 per years.
I think that's what we said we would do.
We're trying to make our work good.
And one other thing to consider, or actually 2 other things, is when you put an RFP out there and you're looking at this every year, then you're gonna discourage some companies possibly from bidding on the business because they're not gonna want to go through the process every year.
We understand that.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying about after this year, this is not something necessarily that we have to do every single year, but we do
Okay.
kind of feel that we need to do it this year.
Okay.
So alternative 2 is to publish an RFP for agent of record,
Yes.
broker of record, with the, it's stating that we would like to have a 2 and 3 year proposal, or you want 1, 2, and 3 year proposal.
You can always, and something to put in the RFP that should be in the RFP is that they have performance standards that they have to meet whoever is awarded the contract. So if they don't meet the performance standards, then we have an out.
So we always have to have a performance standard, but I think it's important, it's RFP, give an option to be able to put 1, 2, and 3 years, or just 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 year contracts.
I'd say 2 to start with, and then an option of third might be an option.
So can you get a motion there for alternative 2 with the RFP specifying a minimum of 2 years with an option of 3?
One of the things you're going to find next year on our benefits is we have guaranteed rates. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't get it now, we remember our motion.
Okay.
Our motion for alternative 2 with the provision for 2 and also for 3 years.
Motion for 3 and an agent of record.
It is alternative for age of record. Okay. But we're going to add to that alternative 2 years and option, option three. A motion by you.
I make a motion for alternative 2 to be agent of record for a period of 2 years, as long as agent of record meets performance standards, with an option for a 3rd year.
I like that.
I'll second.
Okay, that second, Mr. Logan, first from Mr. Roach, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Carries. Did you want to make a comment? I still want to lose that motion while we're doing it.
That's all right.
I think all future motions should have as long as performance standards in it.
Yeah.
I like that.
The contracts that we have this year for our insurances, the medical and dental will be up for renewals as far as premium increases or decreases or hold steady at the end of the year. However, our life insurance, short-term disability, and long-term disability, those prices are guaranteed for 2 years, and our vision insurance is guaranteed for 3 years. So,
Very good. And dental's pretty good, because I had a root canal this morning, it was only $200, so all those things cost, I'm sure they're a whole lot more than That's a big one. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
yes, sir.
We're going to move to item number 7 under new business. Consideration to approve to authorize staff to move forward with amending employment policy 3.02 pay plan.
Yes, sir. Me again. Commissioner came to the HR department and brought up a concern. We are paying our part-time employees less than what we pay our full-time employees, even though they're in the same job description. This primarily affects our firefighters at this point. After I went ahead and reviewed, based on Commissioner Loper's concerns, I reviewed all of our part-time employees. The only department that this is truly affecting now are our firefighters. We bring on our part-time firefighters at a lower rate than we bring on our full-time firefighters. Keeping in mind that both our full-time and part-time firefighters have the same qualifications. They're either state certified or they're national professional qualified. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as bringing on our part-time at a lower rate, I don't know. I could not find out or could not find where this change was implemented. However, it does not follow our policy the way that our policy is currently written. Our policy states that we'll pay full-time and part-time the same salary. And that was Commissioner Loper's concern is
They're doing the same job.
yes, they're doing the same job and the same qualifications. So that was the concern of Commissioner Loper. As I said, we went back to try and find when the change was made. I can't come up with a specific date of when we started paying the part-timers less than the full-timers. I do know that it was, I don't know what the previous policy, employment policy said, but I know that what's in there now does not allow for that. So we are in violation of our own employment policy at this point as far as our firefighters are concerned. And as I said, the only people at this point that are being paid less than their full-time counterparts are our firefighters, our part-time and full-time. So based on that, there's actually only 7 part-time firefighters that we're dealing with. The increases or the difference in salaries anywhere from 21 cents to $1.22 per hour. The starting rate for a firefighter is $13.15 per hour. We start our part-time firefighters at $11.93 per hour. There are 2 firefighters that are at that the lowest rate, the $11.93. Going through their records and things and all, one of the decisions or discussions that Commissioner Loper and I had was correcting the problem and how far back do we go as far as salaries, correcting the salaries for the part-time employees. I went back to the beginning of this fiscal year, which would have been 1 July of 2017, and looked at those 7 firefighters. I have to put my glasses on again. If we bring those 7 firefighters up to the current full-time rate and pay them back pay, then it's going to cost us approximately $3,900. That would be paying them back from July 1st. If we do it from the beginning of this fiscal year, or this calendar year, which would be January 1, it's going to cost us around $1,400 to make up the back pay, the retro pay. One of the things, or one of the recommendation that I was going to make was that we do it going back to the beginning, to increase their salaries going back to the beginning of the fiscal year. However, after discussions with our finance director, we've decided, or she and I have decided that we would like to recommend that we pay them as of today's date, or as of current date. Don't do any retro pay for the part-time firefighters.
Well, that was actually, I kind of agree with that. Just two things. One, we want to be consistent with our policy for sure. But how far back would you go if you go back to July, well, actually not July 2010, 12, when they get involved? I think you start down the trail.
You see, July the 1st, 2016 is what, and that would be, and I think that would be satisfactory, because we probably don't have any to go back any further than that.
I don't know if we've gone past this by the county attorney or not, but something that comes to mind for me is, okay, there's 7 employees involved. I'm assuming each one of them were hired at different times.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
they've been with us different lengths of time. I don't know how many have been affected for whatever period of time that is, but can we just choose to say, okay, we weren't going by policy, we just caught it, and so now we're going to go back half the time, or I don't know how that makes it right. I'm not sure that's the solution to, in a legal sense. If they say, hey, we want to be, if you weren't going by policy, we want to be paid the entire time, how long have they been in that scenario? We don't even have that information tonight, but I don't know what the answer is. And again, I think it's something he should review before we decide about that.
I don't know that we will have that information.
Their start dates?
No, I have their start dates, but as far as going back and making the changes to their salaries, because we don't know when the change was made, we don't know when it was implemented.
All right, so let me ask you this, Emma, because maybe I'm missing something. Are we saying that we're saying they weren't being paid the same thing as the full-time? We can't figure out what day their pay rate wasn't the same as the full-time? I can't understand that.
Somebody along the line cut the pay.
They changed it? They were hired at a higher rate and somebody went in the system and changed it?
No, ma'am, they were hired at the lower rates.
They were hired at lower rate. That'd be my argument.
Okay, so the higher date, so that gets back to their higher
They
date.
agreed to a certain pay.
So the answer is, each one of their higher dates is the date that they were effective from.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we would need to know that information and then figure out from there legally what the right is.
And that was my question, was the legality of it at this point.
That's right.
Yeah, I like the.
We have to have the answer to the legality part. Now,
It would be easy to go back to 2016, July 2016. That would be easy for them to come out with money.
Yes, that would be easy, but is it right? I mean, we owe retro pay.
We owe them the money. I don't know who changed this, but it's not an OSOP.
well, what I'm saying the problem is if we give them to 2016 and they started in 2014, do we legally not owe them 2 more years? And if that's the case, we need to know that and make that decision at the right,
But I think if we go back to 2016, that'd be a lot less paperwork, and I think everybody would be satisfied with that.
Yeah, well, if they are, and they go to Department of Labor, say short.
If we're recognizing that we owe it, then we can't just make the assumption they're all going to be satisfied with some arbitrary date.
I definitely agree with attorneys.
I agree that we have.
Let's see, Mr. Lee, can you definitively say that policy is law or not?
Sheriff McGovern, if we were paying you wrong for the last 5 years, would you be okay with 2?
Well, we don't know at this point whether the policy is law.
I understand.
And so we need to table this if that's okay. Motion to table so that.
Yes.
I see our attorney nodding yes and see if policy is law.
Next meeting?
Next one.
So second meeting in May.
The second meeting next month.
And I would also like to ask, my concern this morning in reading over this was not only this department, but other departments, and searching for that information regarding other departments that may fall into this, not the current year, but prior.
Well, it was presented that this was the area the problems in. Are we saying that we're unaware that it may also be in other areas?
I think that if we go back farther than this year, then we are going to have other departments it's going to fall into, especially EMS.
As far as part-time employees?
Yes, ma'am.
But there's nobody at EMS currently that comes under this. They pay them full-time.
Yeah, I don't think
But
that's
it's the
an
same
issue.
argument you're talking about. If you're going back farther for the firefighters, you're gonna have to go back farther for the EMS.
Well, if we're now aware of it, we have to look at it.
Yeah, we need to know legally what our boundaries are to make a decision.
Right.
And so we have a motion to table to our attorney to look at it for the second meeting in May.
I make a motion to table this item to our second meeting in May.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopes, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. You want to have about performance of our attorney? Motion.
Also, Vicki, for what it's worth, I know a lot of problems were dumped in your lap, but hopefully we're going to get them all cleaned up.
I understand that. I'm not going anywhere. You haven't run me off yet, so.
You might find out when it changed.
Sir,
Somebody
yes, sir.
find out.
Mr. Loper, I'm trying my best to come
We
to.
are trying to look at the legal ramifications so we know what boundaries we can operate within.
But, you know, one thing that I might say is, deferring to Lee, is that since we have identified this problem, that do we not want to go ahead and increase those firefighter salaries to the minimum wage? Or do we want to wait and do it all at one time when we come up with a date, or how we're going to handle this?
You could go ahead and start paying them, and then when we decide how far we're going back, then we can give them that money. You could go ahead and start paying them now because they're working now.
Are you saying our current written policy is to pay them the same rate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then that is our current written policy.
That's correct.
So then what I would say,
Actually, she would operate under the current policy.
unless we change the policy, that's the policy.
Yeah, you don't need our approval to pay the firefighters what the policy says. You don't need an increase. Right now, it would be an increase.
I think the issue is back.
Yes, sir, that's right.
I would
We
fix,
have to address the back
yeah,
pay.
fix them starting today, and then we have to figure out what the legality is of the back pay.
You go back to the chief and y'all get together.
Yeah, we go back to the chief. The only thing I'm wondering, I just talked to
State your name, please.
Battalion Chief Joel Hughes. I'm probably the senior part-time firefighter. The only thing I'm wondering is, I think this probably came back, and probably didn't change it, is we probably didn't receive the pay raises or the cost of living increases. So that's where your disparity came in. Because we only work part-time, we're not considered full-time employees, which I understand. And that might be when we all started as firefighters, we were paid $10.33.
So when the others got adjustments, the part-time did not get adjustments.
That might have been what happened.
That's my understanding from Joanne and I were talking earlier,
Well,
that could have
in
been
that
part of
case,
the
we
problem.
might be in compliance with our policy that when we started the pay, it was at the same rate as the,
No, sir, it doesn't address cost of living or longevity
well,
increases.
it didn't address it, but then they was, even with the
That,
policy.
you're saying that would be basically an
I'm
out.
saying if the policy was to hire at the same level, and at that time we brought you into that level, you're not full-time, you don't get insurance, you don't get all the costs, you don't get the things that go along. You may be in compliance with our policy. What maybe we do is change the policy to always match the codes or whatever. And that's a different issue, so we don't even know all the issues that sound like right now to address. We may not be in compliance with anything.
Well, the cost of livings and the longevity increases, Joanna, you're,
It would all be figured in that $2. It's basically $2 difference.
Well, what I'm saying is when they came to work, the base pay might have been $12.15, and we started with that. But because they're not full-time employees, they may not have got some of the other increases that we've made to the base pay at that time.
And they fall behind.
They fall behind. We may need to address that part of the policy, but it may be that we never did pay them less originally. It's just something as the codes have come, they haven't received that benefit.
And that was part of the discussion we had this morning when I started reading through this part of the agenda, was exactly those pieces, and that we would need to backtrack to find out those pieces of information. Hence, you know, following policy today is one issue, going backwards is a different issue. And so I also would like to check and look, because I remember some discussions where, if I'm not mistaken, this was requested by, a difference requested by some department heads. I simply have not had time to go back and search for that information.
We got two things we look for. We look for when they were hired, was it the right pay at the time? And then policy, is it law? And then we'll have the boundaries for which we can make either a new policy or make a decision.
And if Lee needs to verify through one of the employment attorneys that specializes in that we worked with and doing retirement and all that, let's just be sure we, get it right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So that item has been tabled. We're moving to item number 8 under new business, consideration to approve the revised 2017 supplemental limited project list.
Yes, sir, on March 17th, the board approved the list, and I think we did it at that time with, so something will be approved with commissioners having the opportunity to go back and look and see if there's anything that needed to be changed. Since that time, I had it written out here, we removed Clyde O'Shawnee Road and added Old Tustin and Springfield Roads to the list. Other than that, it's remained unchanged. So with that, I would ask for you all's approval of the revised list so that we can get this submitted to GDOT, because we got about 2 days to get it out.
And his alternative 1 is to approve the revised fiscal year 2017 supplemental limited project list.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion, question, or have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternate 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's approved. Item number 9, under new business, consideration to approve a deed to accept the infrastructure of phase 1, 2, 3A, and 3B of Shadowbrook subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, both of these next 2 items are pretty much in conjunction with one another. One predicated on the other happening really. As you're all aware, we've had issues primarily with the first phase of Shadowbrook that was constructed on an ash base with some damage to the roads in there and infrastructure. And the county's position up to this point has been to not accept that. There's a developer, which is Next Phase Development, that has purchased the remaining property in Shadowbrook. That'll be phase 4 and subsequent phases, I don't know, 5 and 6, whatever ultimately they'll develop. They currently have submitted plans for the next phase, phase 4, and in discussions with them, this is very similar to what we had over in Park West, where there's an issue of our ordinance today says that we accept infrastructure at the time the plat's recorded, and we can't accept infrastructure that we can't reach, meaning we can't get from Log Landing Road back to phase 4 without going through the roads that are existing in Shadowbrook that we don't own. So in some conversations with the developer, they have agreed to fund the repairs to the road, patching the potholes, doing some things that need to be done. That's attached to this document. There's a list on the next item on the actual agreement, road repair agreement, at the back of it, of what they will be responsible for. At the conclusion of those repairs, the county will then overlay the roads that are in there so they're not patched up. That work was approved several months ago when you all approved the resurfacing list that has now been out to bid, and we received bids back, and it'll be on the next agenda for you all to approve that particular one. So the idea here is the developer, Next Phase Development, doesn't necessarily need to be making repairs on someone else's property. It needs to be property owned by the county when they start doing that. So we would accept the infrastructure in phase 1. Immediately afterwards, you all would approve an agreement with them by which they would make the repairs, and then we would do the overlays that you all have already approved in the resurfacing contract. So basically, the 2 of these somewhat go together. In other words, if you don't want to approve the repair contract, we don't need to accept the deed to take the infrastructure.
Tall, so that overlay, will that, they patch all the holes, which is good, and on the side, the it's washed out and broke off. When you put this overlay on it, is it no stick? Because we don't have trouble with what you don't.
No, it's overlaid on top of asphalt at this point.
Huh?
The overlay will be on top of the asphalt that's there. I mean, it should.
Okay.
And one thing I would say about it, and there are some bad damages in there, but that subdivision is also about 15 years old, some of those first phases. So, you got to do maintenance at some point too. Okay.
So the base is the ash base, but with the overlay it's already has, was about 1.5 inches overlay right now? What was over that?
Should be 1.5 inches.
That's what it is there now?
Correct.
What's our overlay going to be?
What are we doing another 1.5 inches? So it'll be 3 inches total of asphalt
I
over.
think that was stick very well if we did that much.
And I remind everybody also, the ash is only in phase 1. Phases 2 and 3 were built conventionally with regular granite or GAB, crushed concrete, whatever they use.
I've had 2 or 3 people ask me about that road. So, and our cost looks like it's around 43,000 if you use the splosh or maybe whatever we're doing.
Are we requiring a bond in case the developer doesn't perform what they're supposed to perform?
There's no bond in this agreement, no.
Because we typically, the other things that we're doing, like now for new subdivisions, in order to turn it over, we require some kind of bond.
Oh, there's a maintenance bond, yeah, what was it, 5 to 10%? But that would be for their infrastructure, not necessarily for the new roads.
But if they don't do this work, we won't give them that.
We just do nothing, we'll just do
We won't
nothing.
let them develop that.
We won't put overlay on it until they
See,
get.
they still need us to approve those back lots. And we'll say, well, we get the road repaired for our overlay.
Yeah, correct.
So we have to get something. Hang over.
And this takes care of the entrance as well.
Yeah, this, phase 1 is, well, I'll say primarily, the entrance is in phase 1. It's that big, long entrance, and then where it splits, it goes either way. The split in, I think, the first, maybe the second street is phase 1, but it's,
Yeah, the entrance, it'll take a little bit of work on that entrance, so it's the edge there.
yes. And again, that's on the next item. You'll see an itemized list of everything that's going to be repaired, but that's on the next item.
You want to look at this and discuss it more thoroughly before you vote on the first one, you okay?
Oh, fine.
All right, need a motion to accept the deed. Alternative number 1, is that right?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Alternative 1 is approved. I'll move to the agreement, consideration to approve a repair agreement between Effingham County and Next Phase Development Company, LLC, for Shadowbrook subdivision.
Yes, sir, as discussed, this is the actual agreement by which Next Phase Development will make the repairs to the existing roads within Shadowbrook, which we will then overlay, and staff will recommend approval.
Alternative 1.
Make a motion to mark number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach, for alternative 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Now, their president of the homeowners association has come before us before. Will we reach out to anybody and let them know that these changes are coming?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
And since you said that, I mean, the timing of the agreement says that he has 30 days, you remember, after he's done with his development to do it. In email correspondence, we had talked back and forth and said that's not necessarily going to work because we have a window by which we can overlay 180 days from the date of the contract. And we pushed it out for this one reason, which is October, I believe, 1st of November. So he understands that he needs his repairs done by then. So we could give him a outlier date of October, November. We can figure what 180 days from when y'all approve the actual bid.
Now, Kim, what was this phase 1 road? The only other roads in there? Or what?
Well, you just voted to take them all, 1 through 3D. That D was not just phase 1. That D was every road in Chester.
And phase 4 is a new phase.
That's correct, yes, sir. 1, 2, 3, A, and B. 3 was in 2 different A and B.
Okay. Very good. I'll do the last foolish question I asked. All right, anything else? Staff reports.
You have all your normal things, senior citizens report, prison report, the weekend community service worker report, EMS's quarterly report, and the wastewater treatment distribution vehicle maintenance and public works report should all be, some of these say they're in your box, but they end up there. You should have them all, actually. And monthly financials, all of that should be in front of you. Travel summary, I don't know if that made it up there or not, Stephanie, or if it's in their box, but there's a travel summary ready for y'all. Once again, remind you about the Department of Revenue open house, Tuesday, April 18th, celebration of Champions Day, April 22nd. Nelly Road, give y'all an update. The last board meeting, we talked about the possibility of putting in a turnaround. I spoke with Ms. Diana King about that, and she's going to talk with the proper folks at like McIntosh or Southern, whoever the proper people are to talk with to see if it's possible for us to get enough room to install a turnaround. We met with Georgia Pacific and the IDA last Friday to discuss anything that we could possibly do with GPS, if there's anything we can do, or kind of going in the mapping sites and reporting errors at least, the best that we can do. So I'll keep you all updated as that unfolds. The ACCG County Excellence Awards and County Family Albums Magazine are both two publications that come out every year by ACCG, and they're selling advertising space. So the question for you all is, May 8th is the deadline. Do you want to purchase any advertising space in there? There's documents in here that give you the pricing and so forth for doing that, if you would like to participate in it.
We purchased it last year.
I don't believe so.
We have been for several years.
Do we ever do anything in Georgia Trent? Because every time I look at Georgia Trent, I see Scriven County, Bullitt, Bryan, everybody, so we do.
No, I don't believe
We have, when Effingham County's been highlighted, I think we have. We have been years ago, we have, but later, the last 4 or 5 years, we have to have that crazy time.
That might be good to Georgia Trend to.
I mean, I don't have to do what everybody else does, but I just know there's.
I just, what I was saying is,
Water
if
use more
we decide to
counties.
open up the new rec facility,
Yeah.
that would be a good time for us to maybe do something like that.
And I think that's sort of what this is, the one that we're asking about. Now, it's not the Georgia Trend, but in these magazines, it's showcasing special athletics, attractions, economic development, it'd be that sort of thing, the new recreational facility. Page 22 of your material, you'll see, at least as of the date of this email, the county's participating, and assuming they're all equal, there's 50 there out of 159 that are participating.
Maybe we go ahead and put one and advertise our rec department.
Well, we don't have anything to really show yet. When's this coming, when's this magazine?
May 8th is the deadline for telling them that you want to do it.
Magazine comes out.
I think it's September.
6/21 and 9/18.
How often is the CCG magazine?
This is a year. Both of these are yearly, I do believe.
Georgia Trend's annual too?
No, Georgia Trent, I believe, monthly.
You might be a great leadership there for trying to make sure it's safe.
I just think once we get it open and have something to take pictures of, do the story now, I think we're
And that's not true. The County Excellence Award is annual. The County Family Album is the fall edition, so obviously there's more than one a year. But Georgia Trent is, I believe, monthly. Chamber's annual meeting, they sent a placeholder, save the date note that's in here, June 18th at 6 o'clock p.m. And this year it's at St. Boniface Banquet Hall. It's usually at the high school. They've changed the location. Y'all get more information coming. There's a notification of a corrective action plan in here for the Long Bridge bait and tackle, and we were notified because we own property near it, which is the boat landing there. No, not talking about the other one, the Long Bridge boat landing. And what they're wanting us to do is basically fill out a little questionnaire that has about 4 questions on it, just telling them where we get our drinking water from. It's on page 28. We can put, however y'all want to handle this, we can fill it out. It simply says source of drinking water on property. Is there a well used for purposes other than drinking? If yes, for what purpose? Name and address. That's all it asks. If you all want us to put it before y'all vote, or if you want us to just fill that out and send it in, kind of a question.
Just factual information, right?
It's page 28. You can see it's literally, is there a well and what's your name? So if you're fine with it, we'll fill that out, maybe get the chairman to sign it and send it off.
Send it in.
There's not much information there. Old Augusta Road restriping, you asked about this last meeting, Chairman, give you a pay raise, Commissioner Loper. That work has been completed. It was, I think, somewhere at the end of last week. Now, remember, it's $275 to Rick Stillwell is what we talked about, but it is there, and restriping the RPMs are on. Beginning here on page 30, there's a schedule for the issuance of the revenue bonds that we've been talking about. This just gives you, it'll give you all the dates that it's going to come before you all, go before the IDA, at least for discussion this Thursday, and it'll be on their board somewhere. Anyhow, it's all on the schedule right here, and it looks like it'll wrap up about June 13th. It's all right to have the closing and all that. Then the hydrostatic pressure testing by Southern Natural Gas, we've told you all about that before. There's another letter they sent out. I just want you to have it. It gives you more details of the dates in case anybody asks you about it. You have that additional information.
Are we going to have anybody in the IDA meeting Thursday?
I'll be there.
Okay. I want to go, but I've got something.
Yeah, I'm going to be there in Trading Roads coming down as well,
Okay.
to answer any questions. And I know we were going to get together, I think Lee wants to, Lee and Ted, myself, and Trey, before the meeting. But he'll be here to answer any questions.
What time is that meeting?
6 o'clock.
Are you going to be able to attend? Are you going?
I think I can to the meeting. We had talked about meeting before, so I know I was going to do that. So I can go to the meeting as well.
I think we bamboozled the 2 o'clock meeting because I didn't think we needed that much time. His last correspondence said, just let me know when you're back. So I got a TCC meeting. I won't be back till then anyhow. But we're just going to get together. I mean, it's pretty much a standard, their conduit. It's not going to hurt their credit ratings, what we understand. Their board's used to doing these things. We don't think there's any issues. And again, Trey's going to be here to answer the questions. But we will get together before the meeting and make sure everybody understands. So yes, sir, there'll be somebody there.
Still very heavy to report, but I had a while here, but kayaking down the Ebenezer Creek trying to get Long Bridge, I didn't make it very far. I heard it's from trees. We got out, get our kayaks around, got out, get our kayaks around. Is there anything that we can do as a county with the state, any funding? That creek is a mess. I know some citizens on the side talking about you can't use it, you can't boat it, you can't do anything down there in this creek. It is a mess.
So many trees.
They're laying all over it.
I prefer to get back to
It was just a beautiful.
Where is that?
Ebenezer Creek, we put it at a log land, and we're gonna go down to, what's that bridge, Long Bridge? We didn't get hardly anywhere, had to get out, put around, had to get out, put around. Finally, the third time, I said, this will take us all year to get to Long Bridge. I assume it's the same way from there down to Ebenezer Creek, I don't know that.
I'm sure it is.
So we are hurting a great opportunity for people coming to our community that love the kayak, and now what's available. I just thought put a vote in our year tonight.
Well, let me check on that. The answer I want to give you off the top of my head, that possibly even incorrect, that's why I started to do this, but I don't know that we'll even be allowed to pull those trees out. I think there's some issues with pulling them out of those navigable waters like that. We've discussed this a little bit internally. Let me get a better answer for you on that one.
But is that
Our
something?
EMA director's not here tonight.
Is that something?
A lot of you going to have to get on private property.
Is that something the state will do that costs?
First off, of you will.
You gotta build that boat.
Previously, it was a regulatory issue, they weren't going to let you do it.
Mr. Chairman, the Masonic Lodge in Springfield are the caretakers of that property on Ebenezer Road, what they would call the landing. That when you come off 21, it'd be on your right-hand side. You'll see a Boy Scout hut
Correct, that's what we
on the right-hand side. Now, someone has put in a mobile home on the lot adjacent to that, and I think it might be 10 or 15 block high, mobile home is. Anyway, the city has been in contact, I'm kind of the go-to through the lodge, as far as trying to acquire the property and use it for a kayak launch. The Boy Scouts would be on board with us selling the city that property, taking the money to increasing their property, trying to do a lot of property swapping. The cities had to back off on a grant and try to get another grant because this one was expiring and what we were looking at was not working. What we're trying to do is potentially sell the property on the Springfield side of Logs Landing Road, get with the city, acquire some more property behind the property that the Boy Scouts own, and then in turn sell the city some property on the same side that the Boy Scouts are on, and they would put in a kayak launch there.
Everybody gonna go, use them cleaned up.
Well, the Boy Scouts, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, got in those kayaks, and they went all the way out to Long Bridge with chainsaws, opening up the creek. Now, this was, before all the storms.
You have to see what I saw now. I'm talking about this big a tree,
Yeah.
2 or 3 yards laying across.
And I've asked Brett the question, is there anything that can, from the state standpoint, that can go through to open up these, because this is a historic route. So I don't know if there's any monies out there that could help fund this, but what these boys went through, it was just small trees. I'm sure we're looking at 100-year-old oaks and things like that.
This is unbelievable. You have to see it. It's unbelievable. We just need to look and see 2 things. One, can we legally go into the creek and do anything? That's what you're looking at, Toss, right?
Yes, sir. I'll
And then secondly, is there any funding, is there any provision? I mean, can inmate labor be used as legally can be done? I don't know. It's going to be a process, but it's sad that we've lost that. Here, it's really beautiful, but that never done. We've done it a couple times.
What
I'm so disappointed. I mean, it's just horrendous.
Well, what some of them,
Natural resources, like, is there not a state agency that'll come and do something with that? Like you know how they came and asked us to take the property, and then I think the city of Springfield did take the property?
this creek it goes past that property, the old Augusta Road property, at 250 acres. A lot of people are putting in at Tommy Long, which is off of Wiley Road, or I know it changes somewhere down there, put in there, and they will kayak and come out Ebenezer Creek, and they come out to the mouth of Savannah River right there at the Ebenezer Landing.
Yeah, it's about 10 miles from Long Bridge to Ebenezer,
Right.
to the river. It's about 4 miles from Long Landing to
Right.
Long Bridge.
They're also looking at implementing some signage, because when the creek gets up, you can get
You can get lost in there.
you can get disoriented.
You only do it when it's low.
Let me ask this question about something I'm not understanding, because back when they were came and talked to us about possibly taking that property on, and of course, one of the reasons was for the benefit of tourism and things like that. There was talk about the maintenance that in the contract, we provide maintenance and things like that. So if we could be put in a situation where, for the benefit of tourism, we were going to pay for some property, but not be able to really maintain it, is that like we cannot do anything with it? Which we didn't buy it, Springfield did. But I'm trying to understand the legality of getting into it.
Well, sometimes there's federal regulations that didn't allow you to go in, even if trees are just falling in it. You have to make sure they'll let you take care of that.
I understand that, and that's what I'm saying, in that contract, when we were talking about buying it, when we didn't Springfield it, but it got bought. Part of it was that we would provide the maintenance, that we would provide the, that's right, and that we would provide the maintenance for it, for the purpose of people being able to use it for tourism. So
What are you gonna do?
why would you spend the
Float them down to
money
the next landing, or
if you can't touch it?
airlift them out? I mean, because it's all, I mean, how you gonna,
How you gonna access the riverside to work in, probably float it out.
Well, 1 or 2 things, you gotta get a list of private property and take it in small sections. This ain't gonna happen in a year. You do a small section, and basically you'd be cutting it up and just cutting a trail. Some of them take care of itself over time, but can you cut a trail so you can at least get through it,
Yeah.
You can probably drop some of it off to the side of the creek.
float it to the river. Float it to the river.
I'm gonna
Float
flood it.
rises as it falls, then it jams back up.
Yeah, I think if you could just cut some pathways.
Look, I was
What I'm saying is Springfield has a vested interest, they spent some money on that, on one section of it at least. So
and that's their
Springfield has a
purpose of
vested
wanting
interest.
to open this up, to get to that property for the kayakers. It's just,
And even your Effingham County residents who like to go out there and catch fish,
Right.
They're very limited what you can do now. Just troll motor, you got a great time.
it was last year, the year before, there was a kayak group that came to Effingham County, and they were housed at the high school out here. And the coach and the football team used it as a fundraiser. These people stayed in campers or slept on the floor in the cafeteria. They would provide them lunch. Then they had these huge trailers that would haul all the kayaks to one location. They would all hit the river, and at a certain time, they would pick them up further downriver. So it's a need that I didn't know was there, but in talks with the city and wanting to get something like this, which If the city bought it, it would be the city's, and they would maintain as far as locking gates and everything else. And to the Boy Scouts, and this is Boy Scouts of Effingham County, not Boy Scouts of America, is how this land was deeded. So it
It's just
is.
going to be a lot bigger project than just the Boy Scouts of Springfield, because it runs about 14 miles. I bet it's the same way all the way down.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is.
I would suggest, that's one, they want to eat up a lot of our time, but bring it to the commission, because it is a beautiful asset that Effingham County. You probably need to start looking, so Toss, I'll get with you if I can help on that. Even we have to get.
I just want to let you know there is something in the works.
And we'll contact you as well, because it's going to take a group effort.
It is. It is.
I appreciate it, thank you. Any other staff, anything to report tonight?
I have one thing, Mr. Chairman. I was contacted by Bill Costco today. He owns Costco Screen Shop. Apparently it's here in Springfield somewhere. Mr. Costco states that he received a ticket and went before the courts and asked the judge if he would consider, in lieu of paying his ticket, if he could replace the screens at the Senior Citizens Center for free. So I wanted to bring that to you all for your consideration.
And that's the business he's in?
That's the business he's in. He does have a website. I can forward you that information. And he claims to be local here.
I'm confused. The judge told him to come to us?
He asked the judge if he could, apparently he had some conversations with Ms. Margaret, maybe she's got some screens over there that needs to be replaced. And he asked the judge if he could replace those screens in lieu of paying fees for it.
Has the judge given him a certain amount of time to get an answer from us?
He did not.
We're talking about Judge
He didn't
Thompson.
mention any of that, yes.
I think we would have to hear from him directly to be sure. I'm not sure we can do that. I would have to understand what his position is.
Yeah, I think we're saying that the judge would issue some letter to us saying that
You need something?
Mr. So-and-so is requesting permission to do the screens, would we be able to handle that?
Or that the judge authorizes.
Replace the screens.
It's his decision. It's his decision.
Yeah, because he may be trying to get something from us to go back and say, the county said they would do this if you
That's
approve
right.
it.
Okay, we can do that. I'll follow up.
Be a slick operator.
You know.
It is still. He's thinking
I
that's
say he
it.
might. Well, I don't know.
Okay, I'll reach out to the board.
Any other staff?
Yeah, I got one more. We received bids today for Abercorn and Steel Bridge, the push slabs that we were trying to get done before the skirting season ends. Abercorn Creek was 88,500, rough numbers, and Steel Bridge 37,500. The grants for these for matching grants for Abercorn Creek was 25, us 25, them 25 for a total of 50. The price came in at 88,500. We had one bid. And Steel Bridge is a $60,000 grant, 30, of which 37.5 would be this push slab. The balance of it being for everything else. So the question is, what do y'all want to do? You know, the feedback we got from, and this is not somebody that normally does these things, was that they were just too busy, given our schedule. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to wait and try this again when we have other opportunities? Again, Abercorn, we're going to get 25 out of the 88, and that's going to be $60-something thousand of our money to put the push slab in.
Will the money still be available at a later date?
Yeah, the contract is for 1 year, which will expire the end of March of next year. We would just have to ask for an extension. She's already said, we can get an extension beyond that March, which we have to get him start working on March. But it's up to y'all. The idea was to put this on the next agenda, which is going to be pretty close to the beginning of May, and they would have to the end of May to finish it.
So
Well, it will be maybe May 2nd.
Steel Bridge numbers came in okay?
Well, it's 37.5, but that's just for push slab. And we had 60 to do the slab, the retaining wall, the millings, the fencing. It was a lot bigger project. Personally, I think both of these numbers are a lot higher than what we feel like they should be.
So they can go better.
Sir?
So it needs more quotes.
And unfortunately, we didn't get them. There were 4 or 5 people that DNR only uses. They were all contacted directly. The one that was corresponding back and forth, called back, said he was just too busy, given our schedule. I mean, we gave him 4 weeks to do this. So again, it's up to y'all. You want to answer me today. I just need to know before the next couple of days so we know what the full agenda is. Yes, sir, they'll be here soon. Action packed.
If we can get a really popular price, probably the way out.
Yeah, I need one of those computers. But you know, I mean, that's a big
That's a lot of money.
difference on cost. But we can definitely have everything set up to where we're ready to go come next March.
Yes, sir. We're ready to go now. It's just unfortunately, the time.
They'll have longer time.
That's correct, yes, sir. We'll get it out to bid with plenty of time for people. Unfortunately, that
Might
work
get more
is
bids.
Sign that one for slow time, is what they won't work.
March to May, I hope. But if we put it out now, they'll have a schedule. I suspect, and if this affects other people, that's when they're trying to work and they just had other work.
So that's the thing the board to move toward next year, so we can have more to get some competitive bidding.
If we had at least one other bid.
That's what I wish I had one more just to check. But I mean, we really thought 40 to 50 would be the number we were looking at, not the 80.
Okay. So we might be doing it this year.
If y'all change your mind, let me know. We got a few days for the agenda.
2 days of change.
Yes, sir.
Anything from the commission?
I've got one thing. We talked about it last meeting, but here again, I would like to see us, maybe if we can, I know the budget is tight every year, to shift funds if we can to at least get one more guard, so we can have some more inmates going out for trash pickup. Because I know since our last meeting, the Gradley Company has been around my district doing grass cutting, and you know, it's all chopped up, and my phone's been ringing on that. So I'd like to just echo again, like to consider doing that this budget time for the next fiscal year.
And did we mention that at the workshop about checking on that first to be okay?
It's in the works.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the proposed, it'll be included in your proposal. We've talked more about ours.
It's good. Can you ask anything? Do we have a need for executive session?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah, we can do it.
Am I missing something?
No.
Motion for executive
Make a
session?
motion to go into executive session and discuss personnel property and litigation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach, for executive session. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. We'll be executive session. For those who came for the public hearing, we'll be back at 7 o'clock. Can't start at 7 o'clock. So you can make yourself comfortable for the next 25 minutes.
How are you? You don't need the money, man. What you talking about?
Too much for me, Mr. Jackson. It's two-sided.
Usually from the
This is everything for the
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to go back into executive session.
Make a motion to go back to session.
Floyd makes a motion. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Deloach, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Be back in regular session. Entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes from April 4th, 2017.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Have Mr. Roach made the motion, Mr. Walker second the motion to accept the minutes, executive session minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Executive session minutes are approved. So we're moving to the planning board meeting at 7 o'clock at 7:03. First item on the planning board public hearing is the planning board recommends denying an application by Coastal Empire Enterprises LLC to rezone 0.79 acres located at 3221 US Highway 80 from AR1 to B3, net number 378B, and parcel number 2 in the first district. Proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on Coastal Empire Enterprise LLC requesting to rezone this piece of property to B3 to operate a plumbing business, primarily their office side of the business out of this existing structure. Staff has recommended approval based on future development plans. If development node in this area as a transitional area, but planning board they recommended deny.
Is anyone here representing Coastal Empire Enterprises LLC? Would you like to speak to this request?
Thank you. My name is Mark Jacobs, and we're the owner, operator of Coastal Empire Enterprises, doing business as Mr. Reuter Plumbing. Thank you for letting us come to you tonight. Been on a roller coaster ride after the last zoning meeting, the board meeting. First of all, it was like, wow, didn't see that coming because of Highway 80. The growth that's going on there, we didn't anticipate the resistance. And I understand where it's coming from. Second was, oh, well, I guess that's it. No recommendation. Then the next step was, I was getting mad. The next morning, had a chance to think about it. Normally run about a 125 over 75 blood pressure. I stopped at the Higgy station at Publix, and I was about a 195 over something. I had time to think about it. What I was upset about, what I was mad about, was that feelings and emotions, albeit absolutely 100% sincere, and I feel for the families that this is affecting, would outweigh the property owner's rights, the existing property owner's rights. My desire as a business person wanting to conduct an arm's length transaction with the existing business owner, contingent on it being able to go commercial, would have our property rights set aside. Highway 80, saying those words, Highway 80. What does it bring to mind? I think about change. I think about the future and inevitability. Others may see memories, family, childhood, history being trampled by that progress. That's true. That's happening. Highway 80 is a reality. It's 4 lanes. It's there. There's no going back now. Some things were brought up that you're probably going to hear tonight based upon the attendance at this meeting that blindsided me. You're going to hear tonight that, and these are folks, that we're going to be driving semi-trucks through their neighborhood mowing down the kids. We don't drive semi-trucks. We have vans. We have if I could put a picture in your mind, it's the Penske or the U-Haul truck, the small one that's on a van body. Not even a dual axle, a dually tire in the back, it's the small service truck. We do have a small pump truck. We have a total of 6 utility trailers that we carry mini excavators onto jobs to take care of our customers. We're going to be a very light usage of this piece of property. Primarily, it's to have an office outside of our home. Other comments were streetlights are going to be shining in the windows, truck doors slamming all through the night, neighborhood covenants precluding our usage. DOT would not approve accessing the highway. I've had 2 meetings with DOT. That's not a problem. The current owner has overpriced the property to preclude a residential sale. There's plenty of other commercial property on Highway 80. Yes, there is, but we searched for a year. This is the only one that's within our budget to be able to purchase and best fits our usage. Someone even suggested that we're not qualified to buy this property because we're not Effingham County resident. We do live in Pooler. I know where these claims come from, the emotion. But in this day's politically charged environment, this is not true. These are not accurate claims. It's fake news. Precedent exists all up and down Highway 80 for granting the rezoning of this property located at 3221 Highway 80. I don't presume to dictate your feelings as a board or your final conclusion on this matter. I'm confident that it won't be the last time that you'll be dealing with rezoning for this property or the other ones nearby. My commitment, last meeting, I felt like I needed to be friendly and congenial and say we're going to maintain these beautiful crepe myrtles. I'm going to abide by the law. If the folks in this room have a problem with how we choose to use the property, it's a problem with the Effingham County zoning rules and regulations. We're seeking we're petitioning to change this to a reasonable alternative zoning given the Highway 80 property, and we're going to abide by every bit of the Effingham County zoning requirements. We will use it to the full extent of the law, and we will stay within the law. Thank you.
What was your last name? I'm sorry.
Jacobs, Jacobs.
Any questions from the commission, Mr. Jacobs, on the microphone?
What are your normal hours of operation? I mean, are you running 24 hours, 24-hour service, or?
As a plumbing company, we do operate 24 hours. That office will be occupied between typical business hours of 8 to 5, if even that. A lot of our staff, we allow them to work from home given the internet phones. People will be coming onto the property throughout the day, but very sporadically, both the DOT and our explanation to the zoning folks, it was recognized that we're going to be a very light traffic load on this property. DOT expressed the desire to be able to use the Pine View entrance because of the deceleration lane that's available to us. But if that's not possible, then DOT will be able to make a variance to allow us our own private entrance on and off of Highway 80. So that we are 24 hours. Our technicians are dispatched from their homes. They take their vehicles home. It's going to be mainly storing equipment and office hours during typical business hours.
I want to mention one thing to you, and I will say this. I am very much a property rights advocate. And with that said, in your statement, you mentioned something along the lines that you didn't anticipate your rights being somewhat trampled on in this process. And I guess I would say, I don't know if it's a question exactly for the lawyer or not, but the way I look at it is the owner of the property has the property rights. I'm not sure what rights a potential purchaser has in the expectation of a zoning change. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And all that makes a difference to me.
Yes,
If
ma'am.
you are already in ownership of the property and requesting a change, it would have a different weight on me
Right.
than it does of somebody that's considering buying it, and if it doesn't work out, has other options.
Right.
You don't already own that, you don't already have money invested in that property.
Yes,
So I will say, for what that's worth, I look at that a little differently.
I do have money invested in that we have an SBA loan that's hinging on this rezoning. We've gone through expenses of investigating the property. So we are invested. I am the only...
I didn't mean you had no dollars in it.
I understand, yes. And I do recognize that we are not the homeowner. I am in a contractual relationship with the property owner that pending this, it either goes forward or it doesn't. Either I can conduct my business as I would like to, or I have to redo, you know, my plans. But no, that's a very good point. And I am not the owner, and I can't make the ownership of the property come and speak on my behalf, because I'm the business that everybody's going to be looking at as they go by. So I understand where you're coming from.
But is that owner indeed even fighting for the zoning to take place so that that person can make the sale?
My understanding is that they may be here tonight. Again, at the zoning meeting, we were blindsided by what came up. So we were not prepared for that. And I take responsibility. I could have done a lot more to have been better prepared for that meeting, and maybe shared information with the neighborhood as to the nature of our business, rather than uninformed assumptions being made about what we would be doing on that property.
Is there a representative tonight from Coastal Empire Enterprises?
I am the owner of Coastal Empire Enterprises.
He's a purchaser. I'm trying to find out if the actual seller of the property that is the current owner, are they here? Are they here? And do they want to speak?
We have-
Do they want to speak for or against?
I'll be glad to.
Yeah, we probably need a different property, because that's who the equipment is on for.
Unless there's any other questions about the business, what we'll be conducting, then he could be the next person.
That's what we're doing now, we're hearing all this.
We may have more for you, but yes.
I'll be here. I'll be here all night.
Property would like to come up and speak to this request. There's currently a house on this piece of property.
Yes, sir, there is a house there. My name is Glenn Pope. I do own the property, my wife and I. And I know a lot of these people in this room tonight. I know a lot of them, friends with them. I lived there 20-something years. I ran a business out of that house for 20 years, over 20 years. I backed trailers in there. I had 18-foot trailers. I never had a problem. I know the neighborhood has grown. I do know that in the back. But, you know, as far as him backing a 10-foot trailer with an excavator, I don't see a problem with it. Like I say, there's people in here tonight still run businesses that's in that neighborhood. There's dump trucks in that business, in that neighborhood. There's trailers and all throughout it. You know, I don't understand what happened last meeting. I wish I'd have been here to defend myself, because there was things said about the property owners that weren't true. And I wish I'd been here, but I am here tonight. So I have no problem as far as the rezoning. You know, whatever he needs to do, I think he's willing to do.
Have you ever used the property as a rental property? I mean,
It's been a rental property for the last 5 years, I guess, 5 or 6 years.
Are you telling us that businesses have been running in the neighborhoods without the proper approval from the county?
Oh, I don't know what they've had. I just know that they've been running there and still do.
Because in order to run a business out of a residential community, you're supposed to obtain approval.
Well, they may have business license. I'm sure they do. I had a business license.
Not just a business license, but
Well,
approval to run it out.
I ran it for 20 years, over 20 years. I think this man, all he wants to do is do the right thing. You know, a lot of people aren't aware. You know, I went and got a business license. I park trailers. You know, every day I park trailers there, in and out.
But you also live there?
I live there also.
I guess that's probably where the cashier difference is. He's not planning on living there.
That's right.
Your home occupation has some different requirements. You can't put up signage, and you can't have so much traffic and
Right.
parking. It protects the neighborhood around it. So home
Yes.
occupation business is not against the law, it just needs to be
Yes,
pretty.
right. I understand.
Well, this would be different if we had signage, and it'd be a lot
Right.
different.
Well, this is the only entrance into the subdivision also.
It's what?
That's the only entrance into the subdivision.
Yes. But the house is facing Highway 80, you know, it's not facing the road into the subdivision.
So in order to get into the house, you can't come off of 80.
There's not a entrance from Highway 80. No, ma'am.
So you have to pull into the subdivision road.
As soon as you pull in, the driveway is, as soon as you pull in.
Who owns the road?
Ma'am,
Who owns the road?
who owns the road?
Correct. Who owns the subdivision road? I'll let staff. We have staff.
It's a county owned and maintained.
Any more questions for the property owner or Mr. Jacobs? Anyone else speaking for the rezoning tonight?
I address one thing that definitely needs to be clear and understood.
I understand when it's a home business, and I've run out the business out of my home and I have to back trailers onto my property. That is not allowed on this property. DOT does not want me backing, even if it's a county road or the Highway 80, they do not want me being able to or have to back on and off the property. That is not in the plans. We will develop a driveway and a parking area through there that we will pull immediately off the road, and when we come onto the road, we will be facing the right direction. We will not be backing onto that road. And there is a provision, an option for us to have Highway 80 access. If Pineview is not the right road, and after last meeting, I guess I'm quite thankful to hear from the neighborhood as to how difficult that intersection is to get in and out of. I might want my own Highway 80 entrance, but that does require a DOT variance, which I have visited with DOT twice, one on site, and that variance will be granted if it comes down to it. Their recommendation, she won't go on record for this, is that we use the Pineview entrance because of the deceleration lane that's available to us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Oftentimes, if they're going to approve some new access, they will require additional highway work, like a diesel lane.
In this case, there's not enough room for it. We will have to have a DOT curb cut, which is large enough for vehicles to make a turn safely onto the property. And if that was the case, it's going to be on the left side of the home, looking at it from Highway 80, from the middle or to the left side, getting as much distance from the Pineview entrance. But DOT's preference is to use the deceleration lane and get access onto to the property from Pineview, and our contribution to the traffic will be almost nothing. We're not going to be going on and off that property as people suspect we will. We operate 5 plumbing trucks, and they're out in the field all day long. And they come to the property periodically through the day to drop off paperwork.
And those trucks will be parked there at night?
I'm sorry?
And those trucks will be parked at this location at night?
And no, sir. The technicians take their trucks home. What will be parked on the property will be several utility trailers and a small pump truck.
Any other questions from the commission or anyone else speaking for the rezoning? We'll listen to those who speak in opposition to the rezoning tonight. I would encourage you, there's a lot of people here who want to hear from you as we can. But if everybody takes 3 or 4 minutes, we'll be here till really, really late. So if you've got a spokesperson or 3 or 4 or 5 that come speak, come to the microphone, and if you have something else that's additional to someone said, please feel free to come and add that. We probably don't need to get to everything. We understand that it's a good crowd and it's a good opposition tonight. Okay? State your name for us, please, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Emily Carver Davidson, and I am speaking on behalf of the residents of Thompson subdivision concerning this matter. We feel the spot zoning of this property would be detrimental to our neighborhood and feel it's not an ideal location for Mr. Jacobs and his business. I spoke to Donnie Boyd at DOT. He's our area supervisor. You were given a packet. On page 1 of that packet, Mr. Boyd told me that he would have to have 230 feet of property from Pineview before he could start a driveway. But that lot is only 210 feet wide. He did look up. There are no plans submitted on that property right now, and he does not feel they would be granted due to the lack of space between Pineview and the edge of his property. Because of that, he would be turning into our neighborhood to access his business. We worry about the traffic, logistics, and concerns of this. As you can see on pages 1 and 2, there's only 65 feet from the edge of his driveway to the stop sign at Highway 80. That's nothing. And when you leave Thompson subdivision in high traffic times, it's very tricky and dangerous. A lot of residents trying to make a left will oftentimes turn right and U-turn at Ziegler Road to head back left. And it's not uncommon for 3 or 4 cars to back up there and waiting just to get out of the neighborhood. If one of Mr. Jacobs' vehicles were turning in at a time of high traffic, he would be forced to drive through our neighborhood to turn around, or he would have to wait for traffic to clear, which would be a safety concern. There would be no space between the back of his vehicle and 80. So residents turning in from Highway 80 would be stuck, either waiting for him or stuck in 80 and cause an accident. We also worry about when he exits the property. Mr. Jacobs has some large commercial vehicles, and at times they are used to haul trailers. Now, through experience, I had to learn the hard way how important it is to turn really wide when you're hauling a trailer. So we worry that when Mr. Jacobs leaves the property, the vehicles will enter the left lane, and he's so close to the entrance of the neighborhood, as cars come off 80 at a high speed, it's bound to cause an accident. We also are worried about the vehicles he plans to store. You can see pictures of those on pages 3, 4, and 5. He will be storing a septic pump truck. He has an excavator on a double axle trailer. And he talked about other vehicles, so I won't go into all of that. The trailer looks to be 16 to 18 feet long based on my research, and his pump truck is probably 30 feet long. So that right there is all the space from his driveway to the stop sign. After taking into consideration the house, the septic tank, its drain field, and established bushes that at the last meeting Mr. Jacobs said he would keep, it doesn't leave much space to park such heavy equipment. This is a residential lot, and it simply does not have the room to maneuver and store such heavy commercial vehicles. There is a layout of the lot shown on page 6. We wonder how long Mr. Jacobs foresees himself owning this property. Once the lot is rezoned commercial, that's it. We fear Mr. Jacobs will outgrow this property quickly given the limited space, and there are currently many other commercial properties available in Pooler and Bloomingdale area. They may not have a residential price tag, but they are commercial and they are available. Most promising is the Edwards Commercial Park, which is down 80, just a couple miles. It does have a 1 acre lot that fronts 80, It is available for $110,000. I know they would have to add a small building, but for such a small office, it wouldn't be that much. There's information on the industrial property on pages 7, 8, and 9. We also included more real estate listings on page 10. We also threw in a couple residential properties that are not in a subdivision. We did keep in mind the purpose of what he wanted to use the property for when we were searching. And we're no stranger to commercial zoning not working out. We worry about what might come next. Next to us used to be a quiet office run by Lakeside Water Company, but traffic got bad and they sold to a used car lot. Across the street, a small lawnmower repair shop opened. 6 months later, they closed, and it's now a renovation specialty store. That store has to use employees to stop traffic on 80 to allow 18-wheelers to enter and exit their business. Across the street used to be a home, but it was switched to commercial, and over the years it has been a thrift store, a package store, a hair salon, an insurance office, and currently there's a church and Woodsman of the World there. While these businesses are outside of our neighborhood, we had no idea that's what would be there. It was always a quiet little office, and now it's something totally different. In less than a year, Mr. Jacobs could outgrow this property. His business could go under, which we're not trying to jinx him. Or he has the prerogative to sell to the highest bidder once this property is commercial. He's asking for B3 zoning. While we oppose any commercial zoning, B3 zoning is especially offensive because it is so close to industrial. In the future, we could have a lumber yard, auto body repair shop, fast food restaurant, or daycare in the front of our neighborhood. We do want growth in Effingham County. We want businesses to come here, and they're welcome to come in industrial developments like the Edwards Commercial Park, where the roads are meant to handle that, where DOT codes have come into consideration. The growth of Highway 80 does not have to be at the expense of our neighborhood. There are ways to do this the right way without taking away from our community. 3221 US Highway 80 is a part of Thompson subdivision. It was platted to the neighborhood in 1963 as shown on page 11, and it has been a residential property since. The county recognizes Thompson subdivision as neighborhood number 0378B, and the lot Mr. Jacobs is trying to rezone is county parcel 0378B002. On the tax website, it even says land Thompson, and that is included as page 12. The original covenants are still on file with the county, and the first paragraph of the covenants is that the home is only to be used for residential purposes. The covenants are included as pages 13 and 14. At the end of the day, Thompson subdivision is a very unique neighborhood, and I am proud to live there. Page 15 shares just some of our longtime residents. Sandra Jones has lived in the neighborhood since 1964, and 53 years later, her daughter has bought a house in the neighborhood and raises her family there. It's not often when you can find 3 generations living in a neighborhood. It's a quiet, family-oriented community, and Mr. Charles has been here for 42 years. He rides his golf cart around every day, waving and talking to everyone he sees. This is not just a neighborhood, it is our home. We are a united and active community. We take pride in our homes and where we live. It is where families grow, stay, and even return. Jimmy Thompson's grandfather started this neighborhood, and when Jimmy had the chance, he bought a house on Thompson Street. Neighbors here look out for one another. It's a quiet, tucked away neighborhood, and most of the outside world doesn't even know it exists. We are asking you, the commissioners, to keep 3221 US Highway 80 zoned as a residential property. We feel, based on the facts, that the property is platted to our subdivision and that Mr. Jacobs cannot get a commercial driveway, according to who I spoke to. There is no other choice. It would be a disservice and hurt the integrity of our neighborhood. We thank you for your time and attention.
There's no statement, I think, that comes to my mind. You want to clap?
Covenant that you want to say?
Well, whether there are covenants or not, I'll say this. One thing that is above and beyond this being just a house on Highway 80 that we're asking for to zone from residence to commercial is that factor of it's a platted lot in a subdivision. With that being the case, when we are talking about property rights, one of the primary basic reasons that subdivisions are done and platted is so that the people buying inside the subdivision have a reasonable expectation that there are some additional protections about being in the subdivision. And I would say if there's a typical place that it sometimes is going to make sense to make a zoning commercial, it is on a 4-lane highway. And if this was not platted in a residential subdivision, I would look at it differently. But I'm just speaking for myself also. But because it is platted in a residential subdivision, those people that are here tonight from the subdivision really do have a right, a vested interest in what happens in there. And if there was a road already accessing a driveway, something off of Highway 80, but there's not. So all those are factors that I do think that the purchaser should have anticipated they may have a real problem in this over and above and just being a normal zoning request. And that's all.
I think there's
Very
a,
well said. The platted lot makes a huge difference. And also the covenants that you mentioned earlier. Our attorney can answer that. Covenants are legal binding. They sign these covenants.
That's a good question. Usually they expire for 20 years unless they're extended, so without looking out, I really don't know.
they have been extended.
Even so, obviously, we understand what the intent of the subdivision is.
Legally, it could be either way.
It could be a nightmare.
It does state in the terms they expire after 25 years, but they automatically renew every 10 years unless the residents change them.
Unless the resident comes up, owns a property.
And I would think that the covenants say, and I don't know, is there a legal issue with commissioners making a decision over and above a platted subdivision, a recorded?
Covenants.
I think the big issue you've already hit on is a platted residential subdivision.
That's right.
And then on top of that, there are covenants that they may or may not be valid, but it sounds like that they've renewed, so that in and of itself, I believe.
That would give them a legal right against the commissioner.
Well, thank you, and I think one or two other people had comments.
We should comments, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. My name is Wade Simmons. I live at 112 Bradford Drive in the third phase of the subdivision. One thing that Ms. Davidson didn't touch on that's actually near and dear to me is the issue of public safety with this incident. It is our only entrance into the subdivision. So anything that happens, it blocks off the subdivision. There is no access, police, fire, or EMS into the subdivision if something occurs. The truck and trailer that he's talking about, his small septic truck with a 16 to 18 foot trailer with an excavator on it, comes out to be a vehicle that's about 40 or 42 feet long. He's gonna have to try to get that vehicle out of there across Highway 80, which we all know is heavily traveled. It is a high-speed roadway. The speed limit is 55 miles an hour coming into Effingham County, and right at the beginning of the decel lane, it drops that speed limit down to 45 where it enters the Effingham County portion of that. So we have tractor and trailers, vehicles that are running 55, 60 miles an hour that are starting to decel as they approach our intersection. It is dangerous to try to get out of that roadway in general. My job, where I'm at, requires me to have a take-home vehicle that requires emergency warning lights. I have a difficult time with emergency warning lights and sirens to get out of that neighborhood at times. I operate big vehicles with what we do, and I understand trying to get a 40-foot vehicle from a dead stop at a stop sign across 2 lanes of westbound Highway 80 at a high traffic time at a low speed makes it incredibly dangerous to anybody coming through the neighborhood. If traffic stacks up, if he's in a turn lane and he can't get into his property because traffic is lined up there's a school bus or there's something that's trying to get out there and he can't get in his driveway, traffic will continue to stack up behind him. If by some way DOT actually grants him an access for a driveway, he's going to have a 35, 40-foot vehicle that comes to almost a dead stop to make a right-hand turn to get into his property. Any type of vehicle coming to a dead stop on Highway 80 increases the danger to anybody else driving on that roadway. Coming out and going to the left, as Ms. Davidson said, some of the residents have to do that currently, which does not make it safe because they have to go down now and make a U-turn in the middle of Highway 80. It's dangerous as it is. We understand we're not big enough to get a traffic light. It's the things that we have to live for. So if we can keep this maintained residential, so we keep vehicles off of that are trucks that may increase the hazard to us. There's been multiple accidents in that area just from the high speed traffic in general. I hate to put commercial vehicles, no matter what size that they are, to increase that traffic at that intersection. Them coming to a stop, there's a traffic light that backs up further down at Ziegler in the evening as traffic backs up. So as they're trying to stop and they're doing these things and creating additional traffic hazard, it puts everyone on Highway 80 at more of a risk than what we currently have.
And I'll say, I don't know, I'm sure there's many people that would like to speak, but honestly, unless some commissioners have some other areas or questions, I do feel like we've determined probably that we're not even sure we have legal ability to make this kind of change because it's in a protected platted subdivision. So we may not need further comment unless somebody can enlighten us in a way that we are missing something on that.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
It's pretty straightforward and simple for me. It's platted as a subdivision, it's residential. I own 3 properties on Highway 80, 2 of them are commercial. And when I bought 2 could go commercial and it didn't work out, I sold it as residential. An individual I think is renting that property. So you'll always find that this commission usually works towards the working for property rights of the owner. But in this case, I just don't see how I could support rezoning it. It needs to stay residential in my opinion.
And I think because of the property rights of the whole subdivision, because of the subdivision, just to show you, we are constantly looking, as boards constantly looking after the property owners. Recently, we had a crowd of folks in the room against them because there was a piece of property that was not platted, and the people who built homes next to it should have been aware that one day this property could be used for something else.
If it was an outlying parcel separate from the subdivision, we may have a different discussion here. That's the way the other properties owned that I purchased. This is part of a subdivision. This is the only entrance into this subdivision.
For example, across the street where all the commercial is, if you build a house in a platted subdivision, you should recognize across the street, good possibility of commercial. It's Highway 80, but it wasn't platted. So we probably would not turn down good opportunities for big commercial growth across the street on unplatted properties. Any further discussion? Or anyone else want to speak against?
I will. I say you're all decided.
I will say this is the most organized group I think we've seen.
Yes, it was a good presentation. Once again, I want to reiterate, this board really is strong about supporting the property rights of owners. And I think it's recognized that there are some property rights among the homeowners in this particular case.
Well, when there's a platted subdivision and the owner purchases in there, they're agreeing to the rights of what those rights are in that platted subdivision. So, in essence, we are maintaining the rights.
Right. You come to the mic. You come to the mic, you will, and state your name. Are you speaking for or against?
For.
Okay.
Just, my name is Tony Hardigree. I'm with Platinum Properties, and I have the home listed. It sounds like you made your decision, but I just want to make one comment that they had the home listed back in 2012, I think it was, for like a year and a half, and had no bites on it that time. I think they took it off the market, and we've just recently put it back on the market. And in this time, I would say probably if I had 5 inquiries on it, 4 of the 5 were wanting it to be commercial. And the ones that we did show residentially said, there's no way we would put our family on Highway 80, because I think when it was built in 1969 and the covenants were written, at that time, Highway 80 was nothing what it is now. So I think that unfortunately, my seller is kind of stuck with a Highway 80 facing property that cannot be sold residentially. And we don't have it, overpriced or underpriced. We have it listed like $88 a square foot if you're following the market. So it's where the market should be, but I don't think that they want to keep reducing it because it's going to reduce the values of everybody's homes. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. You're welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Against Michael Foley. I own a house directly across Level 1 on Pineview. I just bought it last July, actually, and it was reasonably priced. The house across the street was also for sale too, and it was exceptionally a little higher than the value of what we pay for ours. So there are people looking, and they are willing to pay a fair price, just not overpriced.
Are you saying you bought one on 80?
Yeah, directly across the street from her.
More the pool?
Yes.
Point 80.
Speaking for or against?
Against.
Okay, I don't know if that's necessary, but you...
Okay. Well, that was what, I was going to say the same thing. I bought in 2000, and I bought 2 doors down, and that property was less expensive than the one in the corner. They had it priced above what market value was at the time. First thing we said over here was it's going to be primarily an office. And when he came up here, he said he's going to be mainly putting equipment. So he might want to clarify that. The semi-trucks, yes, they're over there in the cabinet shop across the street, and they do have trouble getting in and out. But the man, when he bought...
Sir, if I may, we really don't need to cover that information. That's okay, because the big issue tonight is the property owners are going to have an interest because of the property.
All right.
So if there's any new information, we'd like to hear that. If not, I'll entertain a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to hear what the planning board has denied.
A second.
Okay, a motion to deny the request for rezoning from Mr. Floyd and a second from Ms. Jones. All in favor of denying this request, say aye. Aye. All opposed to denying this request, say no. It has been denied. Once again, I just state this board is real conscious of property owners, and we are trying to make the best interest of that. Item number 2, the second reading, we'll go to that since we
We can skip it. It's automatically denied.
Item number 2, we're going to skip that. Item number 3 on the public hearing is the planning board recommends approving the application of C to resolve 1.5 acres located on BJ Road from Route 2 to AR1. I'll give it a I'll start again. The planning board recommends approving an application by Philip S. Page Sr. to rezone 1.59 acres located on Blue Jay Road from B2 to AR1, map number 373, parcel 7C, in the second district.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Page had previously rezoned this piece of property with the anticipation that a cell tower was going to be placed on the property. That agreement and cell tower has since fallen through. So Mr. Page is wishing to rezone it back to AR1 in order to combine it with his adjacent property.
Is that going to be the Verizon tower?
No, sir. I'm not sure which one this one was, but the one you most recently approved for a cell tower off of BB Road, it's in the works, and that is Verizon tower there.
Okay, good. Seems for some reason ever since we approved that, I hit 2 dead spots on McCall Road. I'm so glad that we approved that. I know that's all I'm talking
But staff is like around approval for this one.
Planning board's recommending approval.
Yes.
Any discussion, questions from the commission? Anyone speaking for tonight? Still the best Page Senior here. Okay. Anyone speaking against rezoning? Okay, if no discussion, no one speaking, I'll entertain a motion.
Making a motion that we approve the staff plan for recommendation.
First one, Mrs. Jones, second, Mr. Floyd, to approve staff recommendation to go from B2 back to AR1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
I'll make a note, you notice there's not so much contention in my district, right?
That's right. Always.
Oh, wait.
Second reading, consider to approve the second reading of an application by Philip S. Page Senior to rezone 1.59 acres located on Blue Jay Road from B2 to AR1, map number 373, parcel 7 cell in the second district. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion, second by, I think I heard Mr. Floyd first on that one. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Public hearing number 5, planning board recommends approving an application by Irma Davis to rezone 3.66 acres located off Herbert Kessler Road in Brookfield subdivision from R1 to AR1, map number 395C, parcel number 1, 2, 31, 32, 33, and 34 in the second district.
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Davis had recently purchased these lots that were in Brookfield subdivision. She has an adjacent property on both sides of Herbert Kessler Road. She's wishing to combine these with her adjacent property and get them into the CUBA program. There's no homes that have been constructed on any of these lots. They're vacant, undeveloped lots.
She wants to combine these lots into one lot.
To combine it with her adjacent property.
It'll be combined into one new parcel called AR1.
Yes.
And she's going to put it in that conservation.
She wishes to apply to get these put in.
Okay, anyone speaking for? Anyone against? You come to the microphone, please, ma'am, and give us your name if you're speaking for or against.
Hi, Irma Davis. The 158 acres that adjoins this is up for CUBA renewal.
Okay.
I did not buy this property to construct homes, and so economically, with taxes, it will be much better for me financially than if I just put it in with the 158 acres under CUBA, because I plan to do nothing with it. The lots, I plan, I have no plans for them, so that's why, because of the economics of it, I wanted to include it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Any questions or discussions? We have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the planning board staff recommendations.
Second.
First by Mrs. Jones, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Okay. And the second reading to approve application by Ms. Davis to rezone 3.66 acres located off of Purple Castle Road in Brookfield, subdivision R1 to AR1, map number 395C, parcel number 1, 2, 31, 32, 33, and 34 in the second district. Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Jones is the motion, and second, Mr. Whipple. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Public hearing number 7, the planning board recommends approving the application by Reed Brennan to rezone from PD to PB to increase the number of lots permitted from 155 to 184 located off of Blue Jay Road in Staffordshire Estates, map 415, parcel number 10 in the second district.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brendan is part of Bricks Capital, who owns this 41510, wishing to amend the PD zoning to increase the number of lots. First phase of Staffordshire had some larger lots, and then the last two phases that y'all have approved, they made the lots a little smaller, and Mr. Brendan is wishing to utilize the same lot size in this final phase, and to fill that out with the usable land. He would need this increase in the number of lots permitted. Staff and the planning board have recommended approval. Our engineering staff have reviewed the pump station. It will support the capacity of the additional lot size.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, good night.
He is not in attendance tonight. I spoke to him on the phone. He wasn't able to be here. He wishes to keep it moving along, and he did not request it to be tabled. There are some flooding related issues.
That's my question. What kind of issues do we have?
There's some road flooding in the last couple of phases. Mr. Brennan's aware of that. He's working with his engineer to come up with a solution. And he addressed that at the planning board meeting as well. There was some residents of the subdivision there, and I believe they're here this evening also.
Is he going to come up with a solution and fund it and take care of it prior to?
He's working with some of our engineers, and Toss had been talking with him to try to find what the solution is. But they have a presentation of some pictures.
He'd been here to make a presentation.
Yes, I understood that.
I
tried to stress that it would be best to table that, but he wanted it to.
Now, it's an existing road, is that correct?
Where the flooding issues are
You're
now?
referring to that we want, you think need additional improvements? Yes, for the flooding is.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they're existing roads that the county's accepted.
Well, we don't know if it's
County-
a road.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
We don't know if it's a road that needs improvements on it.
That the county's already accepted the roads?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, I'm sorry.
We don't know if it's a road that needs improvements or if it's additional drainage.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, is that something that needs to be discussed with them, whether we allow additional lots and zoning or not? Can we tie that to that? Is that?
If it creates additional water on the current roads, I think we could. I want to put more water on the road.
The stormwater currently drains into those two ponds. The additional lots will be on the backside, which will come into there. It's going to exacerbate the situation.
So are you saying we need an engineering review to see if there needs to be more detention to take on additional lots? I mean, staff needs to tell, that's what I'm asking staff.
Yeah.
I think there's several issues, and if you all recall, this has been going on for a while. This is the one that we worked with Kinder Morgan to clear the blockage. There's the gas line. Took a little bit of time to go get the 404 permits and the environmental stuff to go across that section. After doing so, there were beavers that were blocking up as well. They seem to have left, but I think maybe they went downstream. Recently, we walked from the gas line downstream of that outfall, and the outfall ditch runs along and it comes up into the Effingham Power property. That cleared area right there, just to right over RC has its pointer. the drainage comes out through here and around and comes to there. When it hits there, it was flooded, you know, that's all we could tell when we got there. The chairman and I met with them last week on some other issues, but at the time brought that up. They're supposed to be looking into it. The best I can tell from the information I've been able to find is I think that water wants to go this way, back around through a wetland where their pond outfalls and back run of Lolly Creek or Holy Creek, however you say it. So,
I guess my question is, or said here, you said staff's recommending it.
That's what was going to be.
Administrator said it's going to ask.
I don't know that
Issues, so how do you recommend it?
the drainage issue is directly related to the zoning. I mean, I understand increase the lot number is going to affect increase the storm runoff.
Okay, let me ask you to say it like this. If something was engineered years ago, the engineering requirements would be one thing under development. So if we weren't being told we were having a drainage problem, I'd definitely not have any problem with approving additional lots that are going along with the theory of the last lots that were done for subdivision. But if we're being told by staff that we have a drainage problem that could be exacerbated by additional lots, then wouldn't it be sensible policy for us to not be guessing, staff guessing about what we need, but require some type of engineering, re-engineering that's this many years later? We're being asked to basically approve additional lots, so why would we require additional engineering? As an example, in going into building a new phase of something right now, I do know that the new engineering, the requirements, maybe the EPD is requiring more detention than they used to require, and some additional things. I don't know if that would be the case here or not. I don't know what it would cost them. But is that something that we need to require as possibly a policy? Is it when you're going to add a certain percentage of lots? You know, if you're going to be increasing your lots by a certain percentage, then you need a new engineering review, if nothing else. Like with your engineers signing off that no, nothing's needed here, or yes, this is the case.
They like more lots, more homes, but that more non-permeable surfaces.
I would think we need.
You already got drainage issues.
I think I'll be warranted in this case.
When I spoke with Mr. Brennan this morning, he stated that he would be fine with, if you all as a board agreed to add a stipulation that you would not approve a final plat until the engineering was done and the soil and water issues were addressed in the first phase, where the issue is currently.
Okay, say that again.
Yeah, say that again. That's
He stated that he would be okay if you approved the increase in lot sizes with a stipulation that he would have the engineering done to find out what the solution is to correct the existing.
Pending engineering, and could not begin construction on those lots until that, whatever the engineering determined.
Until those approvals were made.
Right.
Okay.
We can legally do that, can't we?
I guess I'd feel comfortable if he were here. And then who's going to pay? I guess that's the question. The stipulation is going to be.
He picked the engineering subdivision if he wants additional
We
lots.
need to have them stipulations from him.
We'll get to the,
and I hate to belabor the issue, but I think it's gotten to a point where we need to bring someone else in because there's a myriad of issues from my reviewing the file. And there's some pieces that I can't find. It doesn't appear that the subdivision was designed initially to hold water industries, not the amount that it's holding today. It appears that the outfall structure was built higher than the plans, but signed off on by the original engineer. And if you go look at it, and I don't have the pictures in front of me, but I can show you, the outfall is level with the ground. So I think all of those things have exacerbated the first phase. And I'm saying all this, I don't know that there is an easy solution.
So then we can table this tonight, right?
I don't know that
If we
it will not.
table it tonight, it doesn't put it in that 6 month.
No, ma'am, we can table it once. And I don't know that it wouldn't be a good idea to have some engineering work done prior to that. You approving the back phase of it because there's outfall. Again, I don't want to belabor it, there's a lot of issues that go into this and it may not be a very easy fix.
I think he needs to be here as well.
I I would agree. And he's aware of it. He and I have spoke a bunch of times. We've met on site. Our public works folks have met on site. We've done work out there. He understands it. All I'm saying is, I can't sit here today and tell you the fix is this. I think there's some additional survey work, some additional modeling that needs to be done. And I believe that gets out of our purview of staff here and probably needs to be on their review, on their design engineer when they look at that next phase.
Do you think some of the problem may be caused off-site of their property?
I do. I do think some of it is outside their property. I'll say leading up to the hurricane, right before the Hurricane Matthew came through, we knew there was going to be significant rainfall, so we staged a pump there from the wastewater treatment plant and pumped over the hindrance that was there for Kinder Morgan at the time, and it seemed to work. I think that blockage has moved downstream, but it's moved downstream on the power company's property, which is restricted access, so we just can't go walk around in there. So again, the chairman and I have met with them. They said they'll work with us. I just don't know their schedule.
I think they want to speak back here.
Yeah,
You want to speak for or against?
Against.
Okay, so we're going to come to against in just a second. Any discussion on for or the commission? All right, those speaking against, you come to the microphone and give your name and
Good evening. My name is Brian Horton. I live at 126 Saratoga Drive, which is a residence in the Staffordshire Estate subdivision. I have a petition tonight that I'd like to provide to the commissioners. It has 44 signatures on it from residents within this subdivision. RC, do you have that presentation that I gave you before? I just wanted to make you all aware as to how severe this flooding is. This is not just a little bit of water in the streets. We have homes that are at risk of being flooded. We have impassability problems in the subdivision. The mail will not be delivered for days. And some of the worst flooding is actually at school bus stops. So we have significant concerns with fire, EMS, and police access to the subdivision. As you can see, that is the layout of the subdivision. The area in blue is where they are going to develop as part of phase 4. The green area is what has been developed and is being has been completed up to this time. The two areas that are circled in red, one is Santa Anita, it's the one in the center. The flooded area is at the crossroads of Saratoga Drive and Aqueduct. The other severe location is in the cul-de-sac on the end of Saratoga Drive near where I live. There are other areas along these roads that also flood. If that was all that was flooded, we wouldn't be here tonight complaining. But the two areas that I have outlined and have more photos of flood at least 3 to 4 times a year. I've lived in the subdivision for about the past 2.5 years, and I can say that we're averaging about 4 floods a year. So if you could go to the next slide. This just kind of outlines, at least along the roadway, how high the waters are going on a pretty consistent basis. And it takes 2 to 3 days at least for these waters to recede. In the instance which we had some issues with beavers, it took over 2 weeks for these waters to recede. As you can see, this is up over sidewalks. This is high enough to where if you don't have a high ground clearance vehicle, you can't drive through. When I drive through in my car, water pours in the doors. I have to vacuum out, wet vacuum my car when I'm driving through. And this lasts for 2 to 3 days. You can see there that there is a community mailbox for Aqueduct. It is at the deepest spot where the water is greatest, and the parking area for this community mailbox is underwater. This is part of the reason why the Postal Service will not deliver mail when it floods. And all of the locations that are going to be developed in the back are going to have to use this community mailbox. All of these homes have to access. This is the only way in and out for both Saratoga and Aqueduct and all of the homes that are going to be built in phase 4. If you could go to the next slide, please. This just shows you how bad some of the flood. This is not even the worst flooding. Interestingly enough, Hurricane Matthew was the worst flooding we've ever had. And this is not very indicative. I only have a handful of photos from Hurricane Matthew. And we were actually lucky that the lagoons were probably about a foot low before that storm hit, before their natural height.
when was this?
This, I believe, is from June of 2016. Most of these photos are from June of 2016 and January. If you just could kind of go ahead and just click through a couple RC. That just kind of shows you, like that last scenario, just somebody walking, their kid walking. This is kind of a wide angle shot just to show you how big of an area we're talking about here. This is not just this one small space. You can see here, this is looking down Aqueduct. You can see the pickup truck and the cars parked along the street further down, how far it goes and how deep it really is. So that's 7 houses down the street.
Someone mentioned that we had a bit of a water problem in there to me, and I rode out there one day, and that particular day it was okay, and I asked a neighbor out in the street, and they said, well, it's not so bad.
They haven't lived there long enough.
This is really the first moment I've seen anything like this, and I wish I would have known.
I emailed you this stuff this weekend, so you might not have had a chance to see it because I know it's a holiday, but I emailed you this presentation.
Are they county roads?
I believe that these are county.
Is there a dumpster in the county road?
There's a house being constructed.
Floated out there.
Still, we don't allow dumpsters in the road.
Sometimes it happens.
Floated down there.
So, and it very may well have floated because it does look like it's empty. This is not. I think this particular photo here is from Hurricane Matthew. This truck, you can see how deep it is. If you have a car, you got no chance. And it may have well, but that photo may have been. I think that last one's showing aqueduct in the middle of the road. It may have floated out in the middle of the road because it was very deep. If you go to the next slide, please. This shows where this is the only way into the new Phase 4 section. He can't build a road anywhere else. And this is it's already going to flood back there. He can build a roadway higher. It's just going to make it, you still got to get through everything that's already flooded. That's looking back on Santa Anita Way, showing where the new construction is going to have to pass through. And there is a lagoon on either side of this. So if you want to go to the next one, please, RC. This is a back patio of one of the homes on Santa Anita Drive. This is the water from the lagoon. It's up over top of the dock. It's within several feet of their back patio. And this house is actually not even the worst house in terms of its threat for flooding. There's several that are a high risk of flooding. And we're not in a floodplain. Nobody was told to get flood insurance. You can go to the next one, RC. This just kind of shows you where we have really bad flooding at Saratoga, down at the cul-de-sac. You can see the two houses circled in green. They are entirely engulfed. They are an island. And I'm not talking just during Hurricane Matthew. Every time we get heavy rain, they are an island. All four sides are good. I've helped one neighbor sandbag his house twice. And his back patio, I'm standing in 2 inches of water on his back patio.
And I'm trying to think through, if I remember what I heard was something through the grapevine that sent me out there, but it was on the street. And it was because what I was hearing was that our roads were getting in bad shape because of that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we had staff working on this a while, or looking into this, or trying to figure out what to do. I didn't know about this before this zoning, so I don't know.
So,
I mean, like I said, this went back to Ken and Ward issue. That took forever to actually get the permits. We've been looking at it. Well, I've heard the same thing too. When I've been out, it's never been that bad.
if you can go to the next couple of slides, this is a photo from a second-story window. That is not Hurricane Matthew. That is June of 2016. That's just a normal heavy thunderstorm, heavy rain. That's the cul-de-sac. You can see that that's somebody standing out, at the end of their driveway. That's how deep it is. This is June 2016 flooding. I do have the dates for these specific photographs. If you keep going, this is not Hurricane Matthew, which was the worst we've seen. That's all the way around this home, okay? I helped him put sandbags around the doorways of his home because we didn't know how high it was going to go. You can keep going. Just both those houses. Again, that's the other house. It's fully engulfed. You can see all the way around.
I just can't believe nobody's been here before now, like with all this.
What can we do? I mean, we've talked about what to do, and this is our thing. What we're requesting is that y'all do not approve this tonight because this is the only leverage we have. Reed has been the developer. He's not the guy that put these roads in. I don't believe somebody else did previously. A lot of this engineering work was done, I believe, in 2006. But he owns this property now. He has a responsibility to the folks that are going to be building, the folks that are there now.
We'll never sell a house. I mean, surely he wants to find a solution as well.
Two years, and I don't think he's done anything. We've asked him, what's he going to do? And all we're told is we're looking into it. We're talking to the county engineers. We're going to try to make it better. And 2 years later, as long as nobody comes by when it's flooded, you'd never know. It's a great subdivision.
I can only speak for myself, but I can't imagine you have to worry about us approving anything.
Okay. I'm glad to show it. I mean, keep going. I mean, that's again.
There were some really nice people in your neighborhood, man, because I really figured that y'all be tagged out every month.
I mean, we do have some really nice people in the neighborhood, but this right here shows, this is the yard next to mine. That is not standing water in the yard that hasn't drained out. That is water from the lagoon that has come up in his backyard. That's his back patio. He's, and there were two homes, the two fully engulfed homes when Hurricane Matthew hit. I went over there at 2 o'clock. We don't have any photos of the absolute worst because it was at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I went out that night because my wife woke me up and said, I think their homes have flooded. And I went out because one of those homes is occupied by an elderly woman and her older daughter, and I needed to check on them just to make sure they knew that they weren't in bad shape. And I went out, and the water had gone underneath the garage doors. It was in their garages. And we looked the next day at the watermark, and they were less than an inch from coming in the garage doors and in the front porch door, the back patio door. There's nothing we can do other than bulldoze these houses and build them up higher to fix this problem. And what we're requesting is that y'all do not approve this rezoning until this is something way been addressed. We need to knock down the height of the spillway. I've seen the draft of his plans for the back section, and there's land he can expand the holding ponds into that would increase our overflow.
Can they go ahead and build the lots that are approved without additional engineering, you only have this kind of issue? Or can we not even restrict that?
That's illegal. I mean, they're legally buildable lots.
Unless we figure out a legal way to put a stop work order out there for this reason. Well,
To me, it's bigger
we
than
now
just,
know what we should know, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
to me, it's bigger than just not approving the additional lots. We need to look at what we can legally do because it's going to run our roads.
If the water was at normal heights when another hurricane hits like Matthew or another tropical storm, you're going to have 3, 4, maybe 5 homes that are flooded.
What did you say your name was?
Brian Gordon.
All I know is if I lived out there, those pictures would be.
What's your number?
My cell phone number or mine?
Your cell number.
912-675-5723. You can contact me anytime.
5723.
Yes, sir.
Last name again, I'm sorry.
Brian Gordon, Horton, Brian with an I.
So this water, the lagoon is filled up and it's coming from a lagoon and the people's property, so.
All of the storm drains feed into the lagoons. All the storm water goes into the lagoons, and then that just backs up. Most people's docks are underwater when it rains heavy. I have a dock on I have a property on the lagoon. We love it, that's why we bought it, but we had no idea before we bought it that this was this high risk. None of the people that bought.
No, because you got sometimes in those lagoons, they can have been out of water.
Well, sometimes they're for we got some pretty good fishing. I mean, we got some pretty good fishing out there. We actually have to run people off.
What used to be is when I rode out there with my husband and I stopped over on the street and I was back in that area and I was like, she's like, well, it's not. I don't know,
but I mean,
we got dry season or wet season. I'm saying dry season when there's hardly anything in the lagoon.
Right.
And you're showing us, man, that's hard.
I mean, June. We've had this in June. We've had floods like this in the winter time.
Look how muddy this one on the left is versus the clear.
And that's one of our other concerns one of our other concerns is we know all of the storm drains for the Phase 4 section were put in like 2006 or 7, and there's no roads back there. So we're also concerned that they're all either damaged, flooded, or damaged or clogged, so that when these homes go in, you're going to have all the streets, all the foundations and driveways poured. Now you have less soil for absorption of water. Now everything is being pushed into these lagoons. And you've also got concerns over whether the existing drain system is even going to work properly, or these ponds in the back are even properly interconnected, because the water is a different color. If you walk out there, the water is not the same color, so we're concerned that they're not even connected.
we need to consult attorneys and engineers and figure out what to do from here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Carlos, in that situation,
That's the outfall, and that's kind of what we're facing is the water at the outfall. When you mentioned lowering the outfall, it's already underwater, so lowering it isn't going to do any good. It's something downstream that's holding it.
that's what I mean, who, in a situation like that, and it's 3 properties over, who is responsible?
Isn't
there somebody who's allowing water to go?
We probably need to address some of our neighboring communities. If it's not outfall into a ditch or drainage structure maintained and owned by the county, they require easements downstream.
Okay.
And that would have prevented this. If we had easements all the way through,
And
the problem we keep running into is we hit property that we can't legally get on because we don't have an easement. And like Kinder Morgan, when we get it, they didn't give us a permanent right of entry. They gave us one time.
But if our subdivision is flooding, then we can make an easement through eminent domain if we have to, but yes.
I I'll leave that as a legal question too. In the past, they said if it only benefits one property, that they, you know, little, and I know there's multiple
It wouldn't
owners in
benefit
there.
one property, because each property, each
And
house.
possibly, yes.
And it's probably more
The
property
picture that you showed
than-
us is not, is benefiting a whole bunch of people on one property.
I mean, and everybody that he's gonna build back there has to transpass the Saratoga. I mean, you can't get no mail, that FedEx, UPS won't deliver.
Well, and I guess, and again, I hate to get in the weeds here, but, you know, elevationally, if there's nowhere to take you to, it doesn't really matter. There's nowhere to go to. And all of this eventually wants to get to Polly Creek or across the McCall Road. There's just not a lot of elevation differences.
Hopefully the engineers can get at least right of entry to go in and see what's
We
going
need
on.
to survey all the way downstream to make sure it's all without fall when we get there. And then if we can get.
You would like to think those neighbors as well to work to solve the problem.
There is a solution, there is a solution. It's a matter of
I mean, I fully support his property rights and everything, and we don't have any issue with the number of homes, but we feel like this is our one and only opportunity to have any leverage at all. Like I said, it's been 2 years and there's been promises of engineering's working on it, we're gonna fix it. And 2 years later, and he doesn't seem to be, there's not enough, to sell homes and not be worried about this has not been enough incentive for him to do something yet. So the only thing we've got left is prevent him from building as many homes as he can, and that will cut into his, I don't want to cut into his profitability, I want him to make a profit, I'm pro-business. But that's the only leverage that we feel we have.
But, you know, even when you say back to whatever 2006, I mean, this is a regionally new subdivision. I mean, we can't have a regionally new subdivision in Effingham County with these kind of problems that we can't figure out how to address.
Saratoga and Aqueduct has only been built probably in the last 18 months to 2 years. Saratoga really only, construction there only started in 2012. So there was during that time period where the real estate market crashed, there was only about a dozen homes in the subdivision up in phase 1 area and phase 2 area, or excuse me, phase 1 area, and none of them were affected by this. They didn't know it was a problem. That's why you may not have heard anything until more recently. But none of this affects anybody in the phase 1 area because it's all behind them. So.
Thank you for your question. And you said you emailed me the pictures and everything.
Yes, ma'am. You have the presentation, you have a long email that kind of details some of the, so everything that you need to know.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you, ma'am. Would y'all like a copy of our petition with the signatures? Or?
Yes, please, legal clerk. We'll do us all copies.
I would definitely lean on their consulting engineers to get into this, see what's going on.
In the meantime, Mr. Lee, you're gonna check and see if legally we have any rights to put some kind of stoppage to development until that's resolved. And then we might also look at right of entry, so we can survey the main, what are the possibilities while we're doing all this? All right, any discussion?
So as far as tabling, I don't know, just tabling it until next month is, what are our options?
I don't think you're gonna have any answers by then.
I don't know.
If you're looking for an answer as to how to fix it, I would agree. I don't think you'll have them by next month. If you're tabling it to get the applicant in here, you may can get some input from him.
If we deny it tonight, this is for the additional expansion, so if we deny it tonight,
You got 6
you
months.
cannot bring it back to us for 6 months, right? 6 months, that's right.
I wouldn't doubt that it would take that long to go
It'll
through
take
the
a
process.
bit of that long to get a solution, and that, you're talking about incentive, that might be one.
We might be taking additional action for them to stop any
Additionally,
additional.
but I would say, does it make sense to just deny this tonight,
I think so.
based on the fact that it's not in here?
Well, entertain a motion either to table or deny.
Make a motion to deny the request.
So,
Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Roach. All in favor of denying this request, say aye. All opposed, no. It is denied, and we forego the second reading.
And let it be clear that the purpose I made the motion for denying was because there are these problems in that subdivision that have not been rectified to date. So I have a concern that any additional homes would just exacerbate that.
Would it be appropriate to ask a question about that?
You have a question?
Well, just in further. I just sold a house in there, and none of it was disclosed about any of it. I guess we weren't there at the time, just like Barry, you said that You've not known about it. We did not know about it either. So I'm just thinking that beyond just getting, you know, them stopping any further construction, I think it needs to be disclosed, you know, out there that there is a flooding problem, because
Was he the seller? Because it's the seller's responsibility to make those disclosures.
That is correct. I represented a buyer.
Whoever the purchasers are, they have a legal right to go against that non-disclosure.
Right, so I represented the buyer, and we had no idea, because of course we, you know, the June and then the hurricane came, you know, that all happened, but he has now just purchased a home that, again, he's not getting his mail in that. So just, I don't know if that's something further that you can do to, you know, have the builder have it a disclosure, or I don't know. That's just something.
He has a legal, what I'm saying is he already has a legal obligation to make that disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not making it, we don't have a particular way to enforce it other than the civil law of who he's not disclosed it to. We can certainly say, hey, you're supposed to be disclosing, but
right.
That's it.
There's already a law that requires them to
He
disclose.
signs a document requiring that every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was just the other question that we
The
had
buyer has
tonight.
I would have that buyer contact him and say, you didn't disclose this, now what?
Right. Okay. And he's here tonight, so thank you.
To your question earlier this week about Shadowbrook, we took care of it tonight.
It did?
We took care of it tonight.
Thank you very much.
She asked about the phase 1 road. Okay, we go in the second reading. Consider number 9, yes. Planning board recommends approving an application by Shirley Robertson to rezone 4 acres located at 179 Hurley Smart Road from AR1 to AR2, map 3081, parcel 123, 23A, in the 3rd district.
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Robertson had come to my office with a plat to sign on one of those lots with a 4-acre lot. I told her it would not be conforming to the current zoning of the property, which is AR1. Let her know she needed to rezone that to AR2 in order to comply with lot sizes. And it's coming out of 23A, the 4-acre tract in that plat.
Is Ms. Shirley here, Mike? Anyone else speaking forward? The commission has any comments? Anyone speaking against the rezoning? Take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the planning board staff recommendations.
Second. Okay. Mr. Galais is the first, second by Mr. Roper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Carries. On the second reading, an application by Shirley Robertson to rezone 4 acres of land located at 179 Hurley Smart Road, AR1 to AR2, map 31, parcel 123, 23A, in the 3rd district. Have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Mr. Lynch is the motion, second Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's approved. Public hearing number 11, planning board recommends approving an application by Maria Wallace to rezone 1.04 acres located at 643rd Street from AR1 to AR2, map number 367A, parcel number 43, in the 4th district.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Wallace had recently purchased this property just outside the city limits of Springfield, and she's wishing to subdivide it in half to put a mobile home on it for herself and on the other piece of property, a mobile home for her father. This property is served by the city of Springfield water, and the health department has given the okay for the half-acre lot sizes for a private septic systems. Staff and planning board have recommended approval.
Is Maria Wallace here? Would you like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Maria Wallace. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
You had to do last.
That's fine.
I'm used to being last. Like Mr. Arson said, I purchased it for me and my family. And that was the purpose of purchasing it. That way I could put a home for me and my kids and my mom and my dad. So I just wanted, to be approved. And that was all.
You cannot go get all emotional.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. When it comes to my family, I'm just emotional.
You don't want to make me cry up here. They'll all laugh.
But that's the purpose of the property. It's for me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone speaking against the rezoning? Any questions or discussion of the board, motion?
Make a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Mr. Loper has made a motion to approve staff recommendation. Mr. Lynch second. All in favor of the rezoning, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Consideration of the second reading of an application by Maria Wallace to rezone 1.04 acres located at 643rd Street from AR1 to AR2, map 367A, parcel number 43 in the 4th district. Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve second reading. Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor of approving the second reading, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Any carries.
No more crying.
The last shall be first.
Happy tears.
All done.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the commission tonight?
Thank you.
Did I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Ford. Always a motion to second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.
Is it possible for me to have my, give you a meeting without high blood pressure?
I can see that still going around.